Good evening, Jim Graham with ABC News. 14 plane passengers have been detained in Melbourne after they arrived from New Zealand as part of the COVID Trans-Tasman bubble arrangements. The ABC understands they flew to Sydney and got a connecting flight to Melbourne. The ABC has contacted Border Force for comment. An extraordinary sitting of Victoria's hotel quarantine inquiry will take place next week. Phil Johnson reports.
The Board of Inquiry into the quarantine system will sit on Tuesday, but it's yet to release details. It comes after a submission from former Health Minister Jenny Mikakos, which contained an email that has brought into question part of Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton's evidence. He told the inquiry he did not know private security was being used at the hotels until he saw it in the media in May. But the email shows Professor Sutton was made aware of a preference to use private security in late March. Next week's sitting also follows the release of phone records of then Police Chief Commissioner Graham Ashton and the Premier Daniel Andrews.
The Victorian Government has been given until Tuesday to decide how it will respond to a High Court challenge to the state's lockdown measures. More from Jamie McKinnell.
Mornington Peninsula hotelier Julian Gurner is the plaintiff in this case and is arguing disproportionate lockdown restrictions have impacted his mental health. His lawyers have asked the High Court to consider whether the rules are at odds with an implied freedom of movement in the Constitution. At a sitting in Sydney, the court heard Victoria is still deciding whether to file a defence or a demurrer, which is a form of objection that accepts the opponent's facts while questioning the legal grounds. Justice Virginia Bell gave Victoria's Solicitor General until Tuesday afternoon to consider the next steps and said a hearing of the full court could happen as early as November 6.
Independent Senator Rex Patrick believes the Australian Federal Police investigation into the so-called Leppington Triangle deal shows the need for a Federal Integrity Commission. The AFP says it's investigating the transaction, which saw the Commonwealth pay $30 million for a 12-hectare parcel of land near Western Sydney Airport, which was later valued at just under $3 million. The Australian National Audit Office was scathing about the purchase, questioning the integrity and probity of the process. Senator Patrick says he's pleased the AFP is investigating, but believes a federal anti-corruption body would have greater powers to look into such deals.
ICACs are special because they have coercive powers and special powers that the police don't. And the reason ICACs are given those powers is always very hard to look through the very solid firewalls that exist around government.
The Victorian Supreme Court has heard a man who helped to cover up the murder of Wangaratta man Nathan Day should be released from custody. More from Michaela Otterlin.
61-year-old Wangaratta man Philip Dunn claims he saw an acquaintance kill Nathan Day in July 2018, but maintains he had no involvement in the act. He's pleaded guilty to being an accessory to murder by showing the killer equipment which could be used to help cover up the crime and misled people to believe Mr. Day was still alive. Dunn has already served 2 years in custody, which his lawyer says is more than enough time. He'll be sentenced Monday week.
In the AFL, North Melbourne chairman Ben Buckley says senior coach Rhys Shaw has asked for time and space away from football. Mr Buckley says North Melbourne will provide Shaw with support. He says the club is acutely aware of speculation regarding Shaw, but would not be commenting further out of respect for him and his family. Now to the weather. And there's a severe thunderstorm warning for heavy rainfall for parts of East Gippsland and the northeast, and strong wind warnings for the west, central Gippsland and East Gippsland coasts. For Victoria, areas of rain over northern and central districts extending throughout during the evening. Isolated thunderstorms across the north and east. Patchy morning fog. Areas of rain easing to showers from the west during the afternoon, then contracting to southern and mountain areas at night. Isolated thunderstorms over central and eastern districts, contracting to the far northeast at night. Some moderate to heavy falls across the northeast ranges. For Melbourne, rain at times tonight, then showers easing tomorrow. A low of 14 and a top tomorrow of 20. In the city now it's 14 degrees. This is ABC News.
the drought, the bushfires, and now COVID.
You're doing a magnificent job keeping everybody informed.
Love it every day, mate. I can listen to you every morning.
Absolutely vital that you're there.
Done it all, but in between trying to make us feel good.
Must be love, love, love.
Your trusted source of accurate and timely emergency information. ABC Radio, TV, and the all-new ABC Emergency website.
It must be love, love, love.
ABC. Stay connected.
This is the most serious threat to our game.
In an historic year.
The grand final we played at the Gabba.
Comes an unprecedented final series.
Grandstand AFL.
And they'll do it. Port Adelaide answer their critics. The minor premier has locked away a home preliminary final.
We do believe. We believe in us. We know we're good enough.
Dreamers, keep on dreaming. Dixon prevails here at ground level. He goes one way, then the other. Oh, it's the goal. Oh, hello. Oh, he has kicked it. Robbie Gray from the boundary. It was Motley through on the boot, rolling towards goal out of nowhere. Stevie Motley. He's the X Factor come final. The reigning premiers bounce back and progress to a fourth straight preliminary final.
It is quite daunting, it is challenging, there's no doubt about it. To go to a hostile environment against a very, very good opposition, we want to play on the edge.
Loads up inside forward 50, one-on-one Lynch.
To Martin, runs to the pocket. Right boot from the top angle. Oh, yes.
Fires on goal from 45, and the Richmond skipper is on the board in style. He beats his direct opponent hands down and strolls into the open goal.
The 2020 AFL Final Series.
Everyone wants to be around this time of year. When you get the best four teams going at it, it's exciting, and you do want to be a part of it.
A dummy, a step, a snap on his right. That is brilliant.
From 50, goes for home. What a finish. It's high, it's straight, and it's three in a row.
Grandstand AFL.
The 2020 AFL Final Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
It's the penultimate weekend of the most extraordinary season. Don't you just love the preliminary finals? And tonight in Adelaide, the minor premier against the reigning premier. Can Port fight for the ultimate prize in their 150th year, or will the Tigers take Damien's dynasty to another decider? Welcome to a drizzly, dreary Adelaide Oval. My name is Quentin Hull. It is great to have you on board the national broadcaster. We call ourselves Grandstand AFL. The Power versus the Tigers tonight. The Lions versus the Cats tomorrow. 4 teams hoping for just 2 places in the 2020 AFL Grand Final. Your part of the broadcast is so important to us. We'd love you to join us throughout. 0437 774 774 is the SMS number to get in touch. Please tell us your name and where you're texting from tonight. There are no late changes to the teams that were both unchanged at selection. Richmond going with the same team that beat St Kilda at Carrara last week, while Port sticking with the team that overcame Geelong in the first game of the finals. A stellar lineup inside the broadcast box. Will go inside both camps before the opening bounce. But my right-hand man, literally, in the broadcast box tonight to describe the action with me, Brett Sprigg. It's nice to be outside of Queensland. This is the first time I've been anywhere for months. I know it's a very privileged position to be in. You've done a bit more travelling recently. How are you?
Only a bit more, yeah. Thank you, Q. Great to be here. This is traditionally the weekend for the punters, isn't it? The last true weekend for the fans before what has become, I guess, in modern times, a very big corporate event, the grand final. Of course, it's very different this year. Port Adelaide fans locally here in SA can get into Queensland, as we know, because, of course, we're going back there tomorrow. But the reality is there won't be many of them going to the Gabba next week if the team makes it there. So this will be some send-off, win or lose, for the Power here tonight.
I'm going to rattle the cage. I'm going to change the order of introduction. I reckon he usually gets introduced first, but I'm going with you because it's great to have a 1995 Carlton Premiership player with us. Scott Camporelli, nice to see you.
Thank you. Good to be here and really excited. Preliminary final weekend. It's probably, for me, the best game of footy, even the grand final, because they're so hard to win, as you know.
And I can do that because on and off I've been calling footy with 1997 Premiership crow Rod Jamieson for about 18 years, Jamo. It's been a while between drinks. Good to see you've still got the same hairstyle.
Q, likewise, welcome. And just to double check, you didn't come in on the back of a semi-trailer today, you blokes. You went through the right channels, is that right? All good?
Yes.
Well, all clear?
We did the long line at the airport and made sure we barcoded and ticked all boxes.
You could have used my ID, actually, couldn't you too, hey? Welcome. What a cracking night. It's the week here in Adelaide. The weather has been sublime, and wake up this morning, it's drizzling, it's overcast, and now we've had rain for a couple of hours leading up to this. It looks a little drier at the moment, but would have loved a fast track.
Well, we wait and see what happens from that perspective, but we'll leave pleasantries there for a moment and get into the Richmond camp, because fantastic to have one of Damien Hardwick's senior assistants, Justin Lepich, with us on the line. Justin, it is fantastic to catch up with you on what is another big night for the Richmond Footy Club. How have things been since Carrara last Friday?
Yeah, really good, thanks. The guys have been really good spirits, of course. I mean, I don't think you can't get up for a preliminary final. You're struggling, aren't you? So we've probably put last week behind us now, and everything's been about this opposition, a team that beat us last time in this venue. So we've got we obviously had a fair bit to look at.
Any real thought at selection to change the team?
No, not really. I think selection didn't go for too long this week. We thought the team we had in last week and the way it worked pretty well. So we stick with the same.
Lepo Kepo here. Good luck tonight. You would have taken a little bit out of the last time from a strategy and structure point of view, not so much a personnel, because you obviously had some key players out. But I've noted the last month or so particularly, you've had a major increase in your clearance work and your score from stoppage. Has that been by design? Have you placed a bit more emphasis on that, or is that just opportunity-based?
No, I think that's just opportunity-based, really. And we're going to have to be good in that area, Kempo. As you know, last time we played them here, they dominated clearances and something like plus 50 contested balls. So, if we get another number like that again, we know which way the game's going to go. So it's pleasing to see that part of the game has improved and is in the right trajectory for us, because, we're going to need it to be at its best tonight.
And it sort of plays into Port's hand a little bit, but you're obviously the number one intercept and turnover team, and you score quite heavily from that part of the ground. In these conditions, that obviously makes it a fair bit harder to score out of your back half.
Yeah, that's right. And recently teams have been trying to set up to stop our intercept. I guess that's a big focus a lot for the opposition. So, look, you can only sort of play the game on its merits, can't you? If the ball's there to be marked and won, we'll try and do that. But also, we think we've got a pretty good spoiling defensive game as well, if it's not that sort of intercept night. So, our backs will do a good job in trying to, use their judgment to make the right calls in those areas.
And the last couple of games, the free kicks, and Dimmer touched on it in his press conference about playing on the edge versus being disciplined. You rank 17th in terms of differential all year. Clearly tonight, that's something that you can't give away.
I think it's been like that for 3 or 4 years, to be honest. I don't just think it's a this year thing, the free kick differential. It's I guess, the really undisciplined, silly ones. Like, every team tries to eradicate, and we've had a few of those. But you're right, there is a couple where you're just going a little bit harder, and you might be a little bit flippant in what you do. They're the sort of ones you could tend to forgive a little bit. But definitely the ones where it's just unwarranted and silly and all that sort of stuff. Of course, we want to eradicate those as much as we can.
Justin, Rod Jamieson, the best defensive side in the comp last year, second best this year, and you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I've loved the way a number of players defend and how they use the football, but Jayden Short's season has been super impressive.
Yeah, we probably got a couple of underrated defenders, to be honest. Nick Boston, obviously I think he's probably been our best player this year in our team, and then Jayden Short is, for a defender, he's a number one metres game player in the competition, so that can't be underestimated. When he sort of breaks clear 5-10 metre run, then kicks the ball 50-60 metres. I mean, he sort of balances up our back line really well.
Justin, Brett Sprigg, the hallmark of Port's winning the quali was obviously their tackling, pressure and intensity. You know that is, I guess, the backbone of good finals performances. How important to match them in that department tonight?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and that is their strength. And at our best, that's our strength as well, isn't it? So, swarm pressure and turn the ball over. So it's going to be an interesting arm wrestle in that way. We probably do it slightly different. They've got probably more balls in tight, and we maybe have more of the chase down types. So, yeah, so it's going to be a very interesting battle. I think both teams are good at that part of the game, but if you watch the last time we played, it wasn't that case, but we're hoping to bring our best tonight.
And Justin, I'm wondering how much this team that you now help coach reminds you of the team that you played in, i.e., you were never as dynamic through the premiership season, but when it came to finals, you found their best footy. Do you see the Richmond that you now coach similar to the Brisbane that you played in?
Yeah, I guess that part of it, yes. I mean, I think the game styling and the game's changed so much that it's different in a lot of ways, but I think the recognisation of big games and performing in big games this team does really well. And you can just see it even this week of training with Trent and Dustin, those boys who just know this is a big boy time of the year, and they want to play well. So, it's sort of that stage of their careers where they know that this is the most important stuff to be playing in. And, I'd be thinking they're putting in a good performance tonight.
And we know of your outstanding contribution as a player, as a coach, mainly at Brisbane and Richmond. But have you sort of got any idea as to what happens next? Because we know you're stepping away from footy. I'm sure you're hoping it's one more week to come. But does that enter your mind at all the last couple of weeks now that you're on death row each week?
For me personally, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, not really. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, it's, I don't know how long I'm going to be out of the game for. It could be a year, could be 2, could be 10. I mean, that's the sort of thing. All I know is that it's for me time to take a break. And, of course I'm going to just enjoy every moment. I'm really hopeful we've got another week left in us. I think everyone's sort of anticipating that. You have to think that way. It's to be real, obviously down and to lose tonight. But you know what? That's the way footy is. All you do is leave it all out there, give everything you've got, and if the result isn't good enough and you've been able to do that, I think you can always walk away proud.
Are they just as hungry as ever?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think the players think there's still work to be done. I don't see any complacency in the group or thinking that two premierships is enough. You don't get any of those thoughts when you see and be around our players.
Great to have a chat to you, Justin. Good luck tonight. I know that plenty of Richmond fans would like the symmetry of your next stop for the time being in footy, finishing up at the Gabba next week. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Brendan. Cheers.
Justin Lepich, of course, started as an assistant at the Tigers and then went to Brisbane at a time when the club was nowhere near as strong as it is now, and then really what a role he has played through Alex Rance, David Asprey, Dylan Grimes, that back line for Richmond, which is such a cornerstone of their success. A large part of the doing of that man we just spoke to.
Oh, the last couple of years, and that's where, Jaden Short's averaging 19, 20 possessions a game, going at 85%. When you have a look at their defence, Vlosten goes at 83, Hooley goes at 78, Grimes goes at 81. They don't miss, and they defend really well. And defences win grand finals. And that's evident, and that's been shown across the last 15 years. You either win them or you certainly give you a chance of getting into the grand final.
Is it fair enough that tonight, if you are a neutral and trying to have a tip, it's about trust versus form? Do we trust the Richmond that shows up in finals, shows up tonight, or do we trust what Port have done throughout the season more?
Yeah, I think you can make a case for both, can't you? I think it's a great analogy that you use there because
it's so tantalising, isn't it?
It is, and that's the thing that I've been excited about. I've been lucky enough to watch a few of Port's games this year, and I've loved the way they've gone about it all year. Everyone's been knocking them from day one. They've been on top of the ladder since round one. They haven't really put a foot wrong. They had a little blip against Brisbane. They had a little blip against Geelong. They learn a lot from those two games. So you talk to the people internally, they learn a lot from that. And that's what good coaching groups do and good playing groups do, is they learn from their mistakes and they move forward and they find a way to get better. Their numbers stack up. When people were knocking him, we did grandstand with Aaron, and I said, "What if you go through the premiership teams that have won over the last 4 or 5 years, and Richmond have been part of that, their numbers stack up. So why can't they be in the mix? So they get a great opportunity. They have 2 finals here, and they get to go and play at the Gabba with a grand final. They've embraced it better than anyone in terms of being able to travel back and forth initially, and they're playing an outstanding brand of footy.
Yeah, if you want to get in touch, 0437 774 774. Still overcast after a drizzly afternoon here in Adelaide, and no changes to the selected teams for Port and Richmond. Speaking of teams, just before we get inside the power camp, news from tomorrow's night at the Gabba, the preliminary final between Brisbane and Geelong. Cats go in unchanged, so Rhys Stanley's knee is okay. He will play. And Brisbane have gone with a tactical move. Kadeen Coleman, the lighter, skillful young player who has made a real impact at the back end of this season, has been left out for the experienced, bigger-bodied former Crow in Cam Ellis-Yolmen. We'll discuss that a bit further when we get a chance. But just repeating that, no changes for the Cats at the Gabba tomorrow night, while the Lions have left out Kadeen Coleman and Cam Ellis-Yolmen comes in. Well, let's get inside the power camp as the crowd continues to build here. It's going to be some atmosphere at Adelaide Oval tonight. Matthew Locken from Ken Hinckley's coaching staff joins us. Matthew, thank you for your time on Grandstand AFL. You've had a bit of a bigger break, of course, than your opponents tonight. How have you handled things since the win against Geelong?
Yeah, g'day, guys. Thanks for having me. It's been interesting and quite refreshing, actually, to have a little bit of time off since our last game. And look, we've tried to keep it as normal as possible. I think this year's been really hard to keep things normal, but it's been good for our guys to have a little bit of a break. We've trained as we would, I suppose, throughout the whole season, and this final season we kept training pretty similar, and we think we're ready to go for tonight.
I know that you've come in unchanged. Was there any real depth of discussion about that at selection?
Yeah, certainly. I think we've had a number of guys that we think can come in and play a role for us in the AFL team. But as you mentioned, we've decided to go with the lineup that we had in our first final. And, lucky for us, Todd's come up from his shoulder and Xavier's passed his concussion test. So for us, we've decided to go in unchanged, but there was a number of guys that come into selection consideration throughout the week.
Matty, Campo here, mate. Good luck tonight. I'm really intrigued, particularly because you're been a really strong clearance team and score from stoppage team, and Richmond haven't been traditionally throughout the year and clearly over the last couple of years, but they've actually sharpened up their work, particularly the last 2 weeks. But considering the conditions, that's going to be really important tonight.
Oh, he's put on there, Campo. I think that's where the game's going to be won or lost. As you mentioned, Richmond have been really strong in that area over the last month or so, and that's probably been our one wood for pretty much the whole season. So our rucks, especially having 2 rucks that are in really good form, is going to be really important for us. And if we can get first look through our midfield, hopefully we can play the game in our front half, and that'll go a long way to us winning.
And to, I guess, take the next point, you're really outstanding at ground ball as well. So clearly the conditions here are a bit slippery and a bit wet. Not sure how much rain we're going to get for the rest of the night. Do you still have that mentality to surge the ball and get it forward, or do you still try and use the ball?
Yeah, I think it'll be a mixture of both. As you mentioned, it is a little bit slippery out here. I'm standing on the oval at the minute, and there's certainly been a fair bit of rain this afternoon. So I think that surge mentality does come in, and Richmond play that style of footy as well. So I don't think it'll be a night for too many big grabs in our front half, but as long as our big guys compete and bring the ball to ground, hopefully it gives guys like Zach Butters, Motlop, Ebert, Rosie the opportunity to be able to kick goals from the ball on the ground.
Yeah, and that must have been the pleasing thing against the Cats. I mean, Charlie didn't really hit the scoreboard, but he did bring Motlop and these the smaller guys into the game. So, as you just mentioned, they'll be really important in these conditions tonight.
Yeah, we think that's one of the strengths with our big guys is their ability just to be able to compete. Todd doesn't get a hell of a lot of the ball in the front half, but he does compete. And when the ball's on the ground, him and Pete Laddams are pretty much like, small forwards. So for us, we think that's a bit of our strength. All we expect from Charlie is to compete. We know he'll have 2 or 3 up against him for most of the night, but if he can bring the ball to ground, we think we'll give ourselves a good chance to score.
Matt, Rod Jamieson, how far do you go back for a theme? Round 11 you played Richmond and you did it really well on that night. 2 weeks ago you played Geelong and you changed a few things. How far do you go back and review to see how and what things you did well?
Yeah, we're constantly reviewing. I think by having a little bit of extra time this week allowed us to go back and look at how we played against Richmond last time. But for us, it's about just being consistent in what we do. We think our best football is good enough to win, and if we produce that tonight, hopefully we'll get the result we're after.
We spoke to Brett Montgomery prior to the Geelong game, and he felt when you did play Geelong previously, there was no real energy and excitement. I wouldn't have thought that would be a concern tonight.
No, the boys are actually pretty relaxed. I'm surprised on how relaxed they are. They're controlling what they can control, and unfortunately you can't do too much until you get out there in an hour or so's time. So we've had a really good week on the track. We haven't had a lot of finals experience in our team, so it's all pretty new for our guys. So it's an exciting time and one we can't wait to get into.
Matthew Locken from the Port Adelaide Footy Club with us. Just a couple to finish with. Matthew, is it an individual or collective plan when Dustin Martin goes forward?
I think it has to be a collective plan for Dustin. I think he's an outstanding player. He's very damaging in the midfield, and when he sort of spits out of the midfield and goes forward, he can certainly kick goals. So I'm sure, Tom Jonas, Hamish Hartlett, Ryan Burton will all have a crack at him at some stage when he goes forward. But it's just about minimising his impact on the game. I don't think you can stop Dustin Martin. You just got to stop him having a huge impact on the game.
And does the captain get Tom Lynch?
Look, again, I sort of think it'll depend where Tom lines up. We've tended to like Tom Cleary and Trent McKenzie, as our deeper defenders, which sometimes does push Tommy Jonas a bit higher. So depending on where they line up, I think you'll see all of those 3 guys going through Lynch and Riewoldt.
I think for the theatre of it all, we'd love the Port captain to line up on the Richmond spearhead. Matthew, thank you for your time. It's going to be a huge night. We appreciate it. Good luck.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me.
Matthew Locken from the Port Adelaide Footy Club. Quentin Hull, Brett Sprigg, Rod Jamieson and Scott Camporelli with you on Grandstand AFL. And considering Hamish Hartlett's comments, I think there'd be plenty of fans who'd like a high ball going inside 50 for Richmond tonight. Hartlett going back with the flight and Lynch coming toward him. That's what final footy's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a brave man, isn't he, Hamish?
If you didn't catch it, he essentially said there wouldn't be too many fans disappointed if Tom Lynch's season finishes tonight.
Yeah, well, that'll make it a little bit more spiteful, won't it? But, essentially, he's an important focal. He straightened him up last week, even though he didn't kick direct or efficient in front of goal. It's a bit... It just allows Riewoldt just to get up the ground and just do what he does. I just think when he's not in the team, Jack ends up being the only tool down there, and he just doesn't handle it as well now as what he used to. So, really interesting. Port did a great job last week against Hawkins. I think there will be a similar sort of mindset that they'll have to going into this game.
Are they big enough? Do you feel that they're big enough to compete down back, Port?
Yeah, totally. I think, I think I'd probably go Tommy Jonas on Riewoldt just to do that. Mackenzie did a great job on Tom Hawkins, but they double-teamed him and triple-teamed him as well. Cleary went out sort of more on the flanks. So I think in terms of mismatch, I think, Tommy Lynch runs up the ground a lot, so I think I'd almost, I don't know, Campo, I'd almost let him go up a little bit and take it up on the wing and go to half-back. And just sit back behind and maybe assist the ruckmans get just set up behind defence.
Well, he plays it a little different on the basis that Martin is the one that's always deep, so he does get up the ground. So it's a little bit different to Hawkins the week before, where Hawkins is a little bit more stay at home, but then they throw Dangerfield down there. So, but I'll go back to the point last week that we made about Hawkins. It's not about Tom Lynch and whoever his direct opponent is. It's the pressure that it's applied up the ground. That's the most important thing.
Well, the natural light continues to fade, albeit it's been an overcast afternoon and drizzling rain falling here at Adelaide Oval, with the bounce down not too far away. Port Adelaide in its 150th year. There's a real story in that if they can get to the grand final in the Gabba next week, and as mentioned, for Richmond, they could go from being a very good team to being a great team if they can win 3 premierships in 4 years, and they need to get past the Power tonight to do that. Building up to the opening bounce, we'd love you to be a part of our broadcast. The SMS number to get in touch is 0437 774 774. Grandstand AFL.
While we're all doing our best to stay connected, open your ears to the world with the ABC Listen app.
Dive deeper with current affairs live radio shows and podcasts like The Signal, Hack and Late Night Live.
This is the Hack Podcast.
I kept telling the detective this wasn't me.
Or step back from non-stop breaking news with a range of live music stations and podcasts like Conversations and Unravel.
I'm Richard Feidler. Thanks for listening.
Open your ears to the world.
Download the ABC Listen app today.
It's coming.
Mold reverse sweep, struck on the pad, shout for LBW. Hits it very high in the air. A chance for catch in the deep, and it's taken. Here she comes towards us, takes the catch.
The WBBL.
Comes down the track and hits it for 6.
ABC Grandstand, your home of the WBBL.
Hits it in the air, into the outfield, great catch. Comes down the wicket, gets a top edge, she'll be out, she is out.
On radio, Grandstand Digital, and on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
And that'll do it. Port Adelaide answer their critics. The minor premier has locked away a home preliminary final.
We do believe. We believe in us. We know we're good enough.
Dreamers, keep on dreaming. Dixon prevails here at ground level. He goes one way, then the other. Eyes the goal. Oh, hello. Oh, he has kicked it. Robbie Gray from the boundary. It was Motley with through on the boot, rolling towards goal out of nowhere. Stevie Motley. He's the X Factor come final. The reigning premiers bounce back and progress to a 4th straight preliminary final.
It is quite daunting, it is challenging, there's no doubt about it. Go to a hostile environment against a very, very good opposition. We want to play on the edge.
Loads up inside forward 50, 1-on-1 Lynch.
To Martin, runs to the pocket. Right boot from the top angle. Oh, yes.
Fires on goal from 45, and the Richmond skipper is on the board in style. He beats his direct opponent hands down and strolls into the open goal.
The 2020 AFL Final Series.
Everyone wants to be around this time of year. When you get the best 4 teams going at it, it's exciting and you do want to be a part of it.
A dummy, a snap on his right. That is brilliant from 50. Goes for home. What a finish.
It's high, it's straight, and it's 3 in a row.
Grandstand AFL.
AFL. The 2020 AFL Final Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
It's a drizzly scene in the city of churches, but oh, the optimism, the hopes and fears, the dreams that will live, the dreams that will die. Preliminary finals weekend is so special. We have Adelaide tonight, we have Brisbane tomorrow. If you are just joining us, great to have you with us on Grandstand AFL. Quentin Hull and Brett Sprigg to call the action with Rod Jamieson and Scott Camporelli. Richmond has just appeared in the predominantly yellow strip that it wore in the 2017 grand final when it downed the other resident of this city. Tonight, of course, it's the Power in their sights, and the Power fans, they're chanting, they're clapping. The atmosphere of around 27,000 fans, which will sound probably more like 50 tonight, is something that we are looking forward to. Brett Sprigg, it's almost as if the fans are telling us that the warm-up for the locals is imminent.
Yeah, this will be something special, Q, when they come out. I want to ask our experts about prelim final weekend. It almost feels like there's more to play for this weekend. Of course, the premiership is what you play for, the GF, but the fact that 4 becomes 2, this is the last hurdle in terms of that belief you get on grand final day that you might win the premiership. Do you know what I mean? It feels like there's more to play for this weekend almost.
Well, there is to a certain extent, because you don't get to play in a grand final if you don't get this one done.
The sounds of Adelaide Oval with Tom Jonas leading Port out onto the ground in a preliminary final in year 150. It can't be underestimated among everything. Think of what would have been planned at Alberton for this year. And the world changes dramatically, yet they won't care. if they get to next week and lift the cup at the Gabba.
And how ironic, Hugh, he grew up being an Adelaide Crows supporter and he was a Norwood player, and Norwood and Port Adelaide are the greatest rivals here in South Australian football, and this year he's the standalone captain in the 150th year.
It's a magnificent scene, albeit the best we can expect in these times with patchy spaces around the stands. A chance to get down to Aaron Bryans, who's been here for the whole story throughout this year and has the pleasure of being right amongst it tonight. We can feel it up here. The listeners can hear it through the radio. How does it feel at ground level? Aaron, welcome.
Thanks, Quentin. It's certainly buzzing down here. The weather is still fairly wet at the moment, though. A lot of drizzle that's been occurring throughout the entire day here in Adelaide. Unfortunately, we've had good weather the past few weeks, but hasn't turned up tonight. 27,000, as you mentioned, allowed into the venue tonight, but at the moment it's actually quite a low figure in terms of the crowd, because there's an issue with ticket tech at the gate, and as a result, it does mean that there are a lot of fans stranded outside the venue, unable to get in ahead of bounce down. So hopefully they can make it in within the next 10 minutes. The big news about the crowd tonight, and the reason why we're up to 27,000 tonight, is that the Northern Hill has been open for the first time this season as well. So they've got separate pods where a certain amount of people can social distance and stand and watch Port Adelaide play in what will be hopefully a win in their 150th anniversary for the preliminary final. Coin toss to come as well. No breeze to speak of, so Trent Cotchin won't have too much to worry about. The final benches ahead of bounce down for Port Adelaide: Dan Houston, Stephen Motlop, Sam Powell-Pepper and Peter Laddams. For Richmond, Dan Rioli, David Asprey, Kane Lambert and Jaden Shaw.
Good on you, Aaron. And just a rendition of the Powers song as they continue their warm-up at the river end. The Tigers warming up at the Cathedral end. Thank you for your thoughts on the SMS. The number is 0437 774 774. G'day to Gazza and Bill, who are listening synced to the TV in Mildura. Have a great call tonight, and please advance warning before score updates of the Storm v Rabbitohs. Oh, that might be hard. We'll do our best. But, of course, in the National Rugby League tonight, Melbourne taking on Canberra, not the Rabbitohs. Gazza and Bill, to correct your text message. The Rabbitohs take on Parramatta tomorrow. So it's the Storm versus the Raiders tonight, and the Rabbitohs up against Penrith tomorrow. Hello to Adrian from Brighton East. Hi, Grandstand. I'm hoping Port get beaten tonight, especially in their 150th year. Go the Blues. Well, yeah. If your team's not here, you've got to take sides. 0437 774 774 is the SMS number to get in touch. For those of you who have just joined us, the news from tomorrow night's game is that Geelong will go in unchanged against Brisbane, and the Lions have made a tactical change with the young, pacey, silky skilled Kadeen Coleman dropped for the more experienced, hardened body of Cam Ellis-Yolman. Let's get to our experts before the opening ceremony and the game here. Port Adelaide, we know of their consistency throughout the year. The question is, Jamo and Scotty, are Richmond better in 2020 than they were in 2019? And it's as direct a comparison as you can get, because tonight Richmond have only got 3 changes from the grand final team against Greater Western Sydney. No Brandon Ellis, no Josh Caddy, no Ivan Soldo. Noah Bolter, Jack Graham and Camden McIntosh come into the team. So those 2 players, Graham and McIntosh, which played in 17 but missed out last year, get their chance to go again. It's uncanny that we get 12 months on, and particularly the 12 months that it's been, and the Richmond team is so similar.
Well, I think you can only assume that they have, because the rest of the comp's got better as well. So you'd feel that they've stepped up accordingly. I mean, Port Adelaide, unprecedented in terms of being top of the ladder all year. Campo touched on it earlier, how good their season has been. The quality of their younger players that have stood up. And just prior to them running out in the ground, Port Adelaide, Butters, Rosie, Dersma, all with Ken Hickley for a couple of minutes. He had a chat to them as they walked out onto the ground. Travis Boakes had an outstanding year. The defence of Port Adelaide has really stood strong. Darcy Byrne-Jones, I think, has had an exceptional year, All-Australian. But, I mean, from a Richmond perspective, we spoke about their defence earlier with Justin Lepage. The way they used the football, as quickly as they used the football, and if there is a reference point in round 11 when Richmond played Port Adelaide here, it was only 21 points of difference. The efficiency, it was such a big blowout Port Adelaide's way in terms of all the stats on that particular day. But the efficiency of Richmond on that night, albeit they lost, they only lost by just under 4 goals. So it's a really difficult game to split tonight. But to answer your question, I think they've got better.
And on the way to you, Scotty, so those names that have changed, they're quite marked for both teams. Richmond tonight has Prestia, Cochin, Edwards, Hooley, Graham and Astbury playing, and they didn't play in round 11. Mind you, Port have got some pretty handy players in that didn't play that day either, in Burton, Marshall, Motlop, Ebert and Rosie.
Yeah, I just think those names there, you know, Cochin, Edwards, Hooley, Prestia, that's their midfield dynamo, isn't it? And they got touched up last time Richmond and they played here. They got smashed in contested possession, minus 23. They got done in a ground ball. Inside 50s, plus 31 to Port. Clearances, and particularly at centre bounce, they got beaten by 15 in the centre bounce. The last 2 weeks they've been able to rectify that, Richmond, and that's been a pivotal move for them. But the names you said, Q, is more based around, yeah, they're important players for Port, but I just think Cochin, Edwards, Hooley, Prestia and Astbury, they're more bigger ins than perhaps the Port ones.
I think one of the... Stephen Motlop for Port Adelaide, he's had a really indifferent year and he's had a couple of good games, and he had a reasonable game 2 weeks ago, so I'm keen to see how he is such an opportunist. He is mercurial at what he does, but then you go the other way too. I think Shea Bolton's game last week was outstanding, and I'm really loved watching him develop on field, plus the other talent that we talk about within the Richmond side. But you know, I think there's under the pressure of tonight, I think would be my only concern for Port Adelaide against the Richmond side in the last 2 to 3 years that have had that experience in these big games.
Yeah, look, I mean, to be fair, you know, history plays a part in it, but it's not everything. No. For me, it's around about what the form is going in, the confidence in the game plan, the continuity of the group. You know, Port have 7 players have played all the game compared to Richmond have only used 3. Now, the benefit of Richmond have had is they play a system-based model where they've had a lot of these guys that can come in and play and fill those roles. Port have only used, I think, 30 players for the year, so that's a really tight... That's a really small group, and that's normally a positive in terms of going into a final series, because there's great belief. You look around, you look at each other in the eye. Yeah, I've seen you. I know what you do. But that's the benefit of what Richmond have had over the last 4 years, is they're all on the same page. Even the younger guys that come in, they know what to expect.
And it adds to that, we know what Richmond have done in the past and what Port have done this year. It's a good point you make. 7 players for Port have played every game this year, and not just any 7. Jonas, Powell Pepper, Hartlett Gray, Boak, Amon and Byrne-Jones. Jayden Short's the only Richmond player to have played every game this year, but that's been by design for the Tigers.
But they've had the week off too, Port. You know, whether they've played too much football, they've had some fresh time to allow themselves to relax and freshen up. And to Campo's point earlier, you know, I think from Richmond's perspective, they've been in the hub and they've done it a little bit unique and probably a little tougher. But I think Port Adelaide, the way that they've actually done it and handled it, the best of all the clubs that have had to travel from interstate on the day, have done it really well. So any challenge that's been put ahead of them, they've actually, most times than not, have actually overcome it.
Thank you to your messages. Keep them coming in on 0437 774 774. Hi to Bob and Marie, who are listening from Jonah Bay, Central Highlands and Tasmania. Have a good call. Thank you. We will enjoy. G'day to Dave from Morfettville. Hi, team. Today is the day. Do or die. Play hard and tackle good. Plus kick straight in front of goal to enable you to go to the big dance at the Gabba next week. From the get-go, I expect Port to go firing like there is no tomorrow. Play Port footy and do us proud in SA. We are one and all behind you all the way. Dave, I can hear your passion. Hint of poetry there. I'm sure there's some Crows fans who don't want Port to win tonight.
I'd agree with that sentiment, Q. There's some that will be very clearly thinking the other way.
Yep. 0437 774 774 to get in touch. This rain won't leave us, Spriggy. It's Jim Maxwell Mizzle, isn't it?
Mizzle's the word that Jim likes to use to describe the very light and persistent rain. But, yeah, as to what effect it has on the match tonight, we'll just have to wait and see. The teams are lining up for our ceremonies very shortly.
27,000 or thereabouts in the house. Richmond wearing its away strip yellow. The strip it wore when it beat the Crows in their groundbreaking 2017 Premiership title. The Power in their home strip are predominantly black with the white and teal V. Our umpires in white. And we await the tingles of the anthems and Welcome to Country to kick us off the preliminary finals weekend.
Premier partner Toyota welcome you to the first preliminary final between the Port Adelaide and Richmond football clubs. The AFL acknowledges the Kaurna people, the traditional owners of the land we gather on tonight, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We acknowledge we play our great game on this land and respect the cultures of all First Peoples, their contribution to our nation and to the game of Australian rules football. We now introduce Senior Kaurna Custodian Carl Winder-Telfer for the Welcome to Country.
The morning actually, Nico Ticker and Yano Kumayatana, Nanyara window good night, Nardly Yarta. Greet you to the spirit of our place, and Yelika welcome you to culture.
We welcome you to the 2020 AFL Finals.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you now please join with the coaches, players and umpires for the Australian National Anthem.
And if you reckon that roar was something, in front of us we see the loyal fans, some all in black and white, some in the more modern version of the Port Adelaide strip with the teal, starting to remove their scarves. This is a part of Port Adelaide football at Adelaide Oval, and in year 150 they're about to make a hell of a racket to do what has become their welcome to their land here.
Quite incredible, Q. Adelaide Oval is certainly half full, not half empty, put it that way. We'll certainly feel that and hear that in a few moments' time. The captains meet in the middle. Trent Cotchin in his 250th AFL game. But it's Tom Jonas who wins the toss, and the Power will kick to the city end to start.
Drizzling rain about, but the natural light has dimmed, and we are on the brink of preliminary finals weekend. 0437 774 774 to be a part of the broadcast tonight. Quentin Hull, Brett Sprigg, Rod Jamieson, Scott Camporelli in the box. Aaron Bryans is down on the boundary. And I must admit, as a first timer at this venue for football, Jamo and Campo, I can't wait for this. I'm a big music fan. I love atmosphere. I know when it started it was a bit contrived, but hasn't become something that Port fans love, and I think footy fans have really warmed to as unique to this part of the world.
It's such a tribal game, isn't it, for supporters to really get behind their team, and they're certainly one of the better tribal acts and support of any club in the land.
We can live forever. If I hurt you, I make one from it. I told you.
50. They'll try and defend their patch tonight to get to the fight for the Cup next week. Brett Sprigg gets preliminary finals weekend underway.
No looking back for the True Believers and the Tiger Army. Up they go. Now Curvis against Lycett. First crowd hands Dustin Martin, and the footy ripped away from him. Little kick here from Cochin. Now Bolton is put down. Vicious tackle that time. Port Adelaide players envelop him. First in there was Hartlett, and the umpire says, give it to me. We'll board up. That's umpire Matt Stevick, and his 400th game umpire tonight, his 44th final inside the opening 30 seconds at Adelaide Oval.
Lycett with the tap down to Boat. His kick doesn't clear the stoppage area. Edwards kicks off the ground for Richmond. Fortuitous kick to half forward, marked by Bolton of Richmond. He's 2 kicks from goal, just forward of the wing. Drives the ball deep towards the forward pocket. Lynch the target. There's 4 against him. And the ball fisted out over the boundary line. Revolt was there among it, but already the double team on the 2 Richmond forwards. And there's a shot of Tom Lynch on the big screen, and he's roundly booed.
Well, Cleary has gone to Lynch, and McKenzie has gone to Rewalt.
All back in front of the scoreboard. Deep in attack here for the Tigers. Lynch was shoved to the front by Lycett. Reaching up for it now. Hartlett. A hand pass comes out wide. Wines can rebound the football here for the Power. Now Curtis with a fist around from the side to affect it out of bounds here. So a throw in at left half back for Port Adelaide inside the opening minute and a half.
We didn't get tips. Rod Jemison?
Oh, it's so hard to split. Port Adelaide at home.
Scotty Camporelli.
Yeah, Port for me.
Ball thrown in at right half forward for Richmond. Lycett and Nankervis tangle. Cochin taps it to the advantage there of a teammate in Short, who kicks it inside 50 to a pack. Bottom of the pack, Cleary roves it for Port Adelaide. Hand pass to McKenzie. And the cannon booms a left boot clear to the outer wing. Dixon trying to shrug away men in the pack. But Vlosten gets under the drop to mark for the Tigers. Just defensive side of halfway for Richmond.
He's been so good, hasn't he, in defence?
Off by hand here to Bolter. Sends them forward towards half forward now in the contest. Just waiting for it out the back. That time was Castagna. Wines it deflects out to him. Hand pass out wide. Ebert. Little squib kick goes to the centre circle here. It'll be picked up here by Butters. Hand pass off to Marshall. Fires on goal from 40 and he's offline to the right hand side. Todd Marshall with the first score of the evening. Behind for Port Adelaide. Richmond yet to score. 2.5 played. Prelim final number 1. Grandstand AFL.
Lawson runs out of the goal mouth and will kick the Tigers long beyond defensive 50 with the injection. Revolt just thumps it onto the advantage of Bolton on the wing. Gathers on halfway. Hand pass over the head of Dustin Martin. Intercepted by the Port skipper Jonas. Powers ball on the outer wing. Hand pass to Wines. Fell over as he gave the handball there to Amon. Kick to half forward from Amon's marked by Dixon. 60 out, he'll turn and go on his right boot. Kicks it to the goal mouth, too shallow for Marshall. Nankervis in the way to mark for the Tigers at full back.
Goes on the 45, beyond offensive 50. Out on the bounce that time for McIntosh. First crowd hands though. Burton runs out of space and will throw it back in. 65 around from Port Adelaide's goal, City end.
2 opportunities. One, Marshall, he should have nailed that goal. The second one is Dixon. He needs to understand that Richmond are the best at trying to manipulate an extra one back. He just needed to let the power forwards get back and reset the ground. Otherwise, they're just going to take uncontested marks.
The voice of Scott Camporelli on Grandstand AFL. Few nerves early here from both sides. Boat ripped off the kick that time by Nankervis. Lycett goes up, tries to swat it clear. Cochin was dumped as well. Boat dispossessed. Martin swoops in here for the Tigers. Hand pass out wide. Hawley sprays it out of bounds on the full on the commentary wing.
Just Toby Nankervis is an angry ruckman. I love the way he actually attacks the football in the centre around the ground and then his follow-up tackling.
Dersma from the wing to a pack inside 50 for Port. Roved by Cochin of the Tigers in game 250. Hand pass to left half back. Didn't really find anyone. Dersma hits the contest, couldn't pick up. Hooley's little kick goes to the wing. Castagna outnumbered. Jonas picks up for Port. Whacks it off the step from his right boot to attacking 50. Lies it back with the flight. Thumps it to the advantage of Pickett as it turned out for Richmond. He had a look and a fumble under the pressure from Rosie, who follows up with a tackle. And the ump says no. Pryor on Broad. Ball up 30 from Port's goal. We've had a behind to the Power. Richmond yet to score through 4 minutes.
Ball in the air. Dixon, the Nankervis. McIntosh head over it. Cochin did well, swooping through, kicks beyond defensive 50, sits up on the bounce for Lambert. Standing start, just turns it across his body. Burn-Jones was involved there as well. Rioli gets to the football here for Richmond. Overruns it though. They pick it up here. Boat Little wobbly kick going towards the painted 50. Ebert kicked in danger. Umpire says play on. Dersma hand pass clear. Broad looking to get there. Gray gets there first. Into a two-man tackle. Dumped as well. Great work by Grimes. And again we'll throw it back in right near the junction of 50 at the city end. That's Port's attacking end. They are one behind. Richmond yet to score through 5 minutes at Adelaide Oval.
Good pressure by both teams. Both have had 6 or 7 tackles in the opening thing. Both teams are just trying to surge the ball and get some field position ascendancy early.
Certainly a night and the conditions which will conducive to body contact early, Scotty. Throw in on attacking 50 for Port. Kicked off the ground by short of the Tigers to the wing. But again, Jonas is there for Port. He's dumped by Rioli as he gets his kick out of bounds. Was it on the full or was it out of play before he
was
kicked
out of bounds before, Q.
Yes, it's going to be a boundary throw in. Right near the interchange gates in front of the Sir Donald Badman Pavilion here at Adelaide Oval. A point to Port. Richmond yet to score. Throw in true halfway. Lysa taps down. Powell Pepper has a fumble but regathers. Hand passes to Rockcliffe on the edge of the contest. Along the ground he's kicked a half forward. Fumbled by Butters. Picked up by McIntosh and kicked clear by Lambert.
And Dustin Martin marks at the logo commentary side. Works a hand pass forward. Pressed out. In fact, Edwards breaking for him. Comes up the corridor. Sliding and marking. Tom Lynch takes the chest mark. 55 out directly in front. Wheels around. Options closer to home. Revolt goes back to the pocket. Can he beat McKenzie? Can't finish off the mark. Bolton comes through. Can't reach for it now. Prestia lays the tackle. And the umpire says, no, it's going to come back here for a Port free kick.
Amon got one high in the left back pocket in the shadows of that magnificent scoreboard on this drizzly Adelaide night.
Tom Cleary's going to have to do a better job on Tom Lynch when the footy comes into the 50. It was a short kick.
Amon's kick to a pack at left half back off hands. Vlosten for the Tigers. Hand pass to Graham to Hooley in tight. Now a creative hand pass to the edge for Bolter. Driving kick to full forward for Richmond. Cleary and Lynch tangle. It bounces off Lynch's head. Rioli arrives for the Tigers. Kick on goal smothered by Amon. Great defensive work. The Sharon spills to the pocket. Hit hard by Pickett. Breaks one, but not the second tackle. And out of play for a throw-in. 40 from Richmond's goal. Quentin Hull, Brett Sprigg, Rod Jamieson, Scott Camporelli and Aaron Bryans with you on the ABC Grandstand AFL. Tight opening here. 7 minutes played. Just one behind to the power.
The Tigers deep in attack. Forward 50 stoppage. Umpire heaves it back in. Lynch tangled up with Lycett. Lycett slaps it down here. Palpepper lost it, but only as far as to a teammate there, Jonas. So it worked out okay. Tumbles it back towards the wing. Won't be kept in play here by Bolter, so we'll throw it back in on the eastern wing here at Adelaide Oval.
It's only a small sample, but Port Adelaide only going at 21% disposal efficiency. Richmond 56. Not only in how important it is around the ground, but in front of goals when you get those chances.
Ball thrown in. Still attacking half for Richmond. Kicked off the ground at the stoppage by Powell Pepper. Picked up in the middle of the ground by Butters of Port through the hands of Rosie. He gives to Dersma. The three gun kids combine. Kick inside 50. Back of the pack. Dixon gathers near the pocket. Hand pass infield. Couldn't find the target and Marshall and picked up by the gun Bolter. The only non-premiership player in this Richmond team. He kicks to the middle of the ground. Marked by Martin. He wants to go. He'll kick to left half forward looking for Revolt. McKenzie tracks back. Makes the spoil with the flight. Well done. Revolt follows up. Slaps it through his legs to no avail. Straight to Amon of Port on defensive 50.
He rebounds quickly. Finds Rockcliffe on the logo. Straight into Baker. Gets the hand pass off. It was too hot that time though for Houston. Bounces back the other way here, going towards left half forward for the Tigers. Revolt up against the boundary line again with Jonas this time. Will throw it back in. 60 around from Richmond's goal. Scoreboard or Cathedral end. It's the power one behind. Richmond yet to score. 8.5 played here, Grandstand AFL.
The only issue at the moment, guys, is Vlosten's the spare one back, so Port are throwing up an extra one round the stoppage. Now, that's all well and good, but you have to be really good with your system going inside forward 50.
Throwing on attacking 50 for Richmond. Boat tackles McIntosh off the ball. Comes free, play on. Graham is wrapped up, just gets a handball cleared. Ebert's going to kick it clear for Port from that congestion. High ball towards the wing. Couple against Laddams. Floston and Bolter combined to get it away from him. Palpepper picks up just before the boundary, but his hand pass straight to the Tigers defender, Bolter. He gave it to Hooley, got dumped by the tackle of Rosie. Picked up by Palpepper. The ricochet picked up by Rosie on the follow-up. Kick inside, 50's a floater. And Broad read the drop in front of Motlop to take a chest mark for the Tigers. It's a point to Port. The Tigers yet to score. Slippery footy through 9.5 here in the city of Church.
Oh, very short kick. Broad to Grimes. Just went the required 15. Turns a high ball beyond defensive 50. And Marshall marks on the wing here for Port. Centering ball back to half forward, where it's marked by Butters. Front edge of the square, looks at the options, sends it inside 50. It was too deep that time for Amon. Numbers in defence, though. It comes from Castagna, ends up with Prestia, tumbles it back up the outer side now. Out to there to Jonas. Opts to let it bounce this time for Houston. Sweeps the hand pass back to Cleary. Has some space here to kick for the Power. Propels them towards half forward. Out in front this time. Veloston beat Rosie to it and it flex out of bounds for a throw in. Right at left half forward for the Power. Attacking towards the city end here in the opening term. We've played 10 minutes here on Grandstand AFL. It's the Power one behind Richmond yet to score.
I'm going to say it to put the moz on it, but Richmond won a really wet, low-scoring game against Sydney at the Gabba and had that really wet, low-scoring draw against Collingwood. I hope we don't get one of those games. I've said it. Hopefully that's enough for the commentator's curse to ensure we'll get a few goals.
No doubt.
Kick towards half forward for the Tigers. Lynch has got a couple to beat, dispossessed by the persistent Cleary, but kicked off the ground by Castagna inside 50. Rioli a chance, couldn't get there before. McKenzie arrived, but made the tackle. Turned over, grab a ball from Lambert from 40 out as a near side point. And the first score for Richmond, which takes 11 minutes to register. A point apiece on this drizzly Friday night on ABC Grandstand AFL.
Both teams are great tackling. Trent McKenzie had to drive through that ball there and get some momentum going forward. Otherwise, the ball's just going to get coughed up in real dangerous spaces.
Pressure from Rioli too. Tremendous.
Houston plays on beyond defensive 50. Giving the shove that time. Adams gives away the free kick. So we'll come back here for a Richmond ball at left half forward. No worries about that one. It will come the way of Dylan Grimes. All-Australian last year, All-Australian squad member this year, along with Nick Boston. He's 65 from goal. High ball towards the teeth of goal here for the Tigers. Lynch, Revolt tries to get the sit, tucks it down towards Martin. He snaps across his body, and Dustin Martin has the first major of the prelim. Richmond makes Port blink first. It's the Tigers 1-1-7. Port Adelaide one behind. We've played 12 minutes inside the opening term here on Grandstand AFL.
Well, it's all about efficiency, isn't it, too? 6 to 8 inside 50s in favour of Port Adelaide. The last couple to Richmond there, but Dusty Martin only early in this game has already had 4 disposals, 100% kicking efficiency at the moment too with 1 goal. And they look sharp.
And he looked like he wanted to kick the goal as soon as he got the football, Campo. Those special players that want the responsibility.
Yeah, well, once again, Trent McKenzie just let him run front and square. McKenzie went behind. I mean, he'd be defensive coach would be filthy. Just no arm across. He's the best player in the competition by an absolute mile, and you give him those sort of opportunities, he's going to take him all night.
Round 11, he kicked 1 goal too. When he played here against Adelaide late in the season, I think he kicked 1 behind and 5 out on the full.
Well, he's now got 17 for the season, Dustin Martin. First of the night. Centre bounce. Laddam's the tap down, but only to Cochrane of Richmond. Kick towards half forward for the Tigers. Houston first to meet it for the Power. Taps it to Hartlett. Hand pass back to Houston. Rides a tackle. Hand pass is intercepted. Whistle. He was legged. Was Houston, so he'll get the free kick for Port just beyond defensive 50 at left half back. As this drizzle persists. Short chip to Boak. Travis Boak, the only survivor from Port Adelaide's 2007 finals series, as he kicks the ball towards half forward. It goes beyond the pack. Out the back, a chance for Rosie. Gathers, hand passes to Motlop in the pocket. Hand pass to Robbie of the Grey. Banana kick outside of the right boot. Doesn't bend enough. And a behind.
Wow, I mean, Robbie Gray, if there's anyone that you'd want the ball in their hands in front of goal in that situation, it's Robbie Gray. It just hit the belly of the ball and just went through for a point.
Richmond 1-1-7, Port Adelaide 2 behinds, 13.5 first quarter.
There are just so many X-Factor players, aren't there, for both teams. Here's Basher Hooley, buys some space in the left back pocket, goes long beyond defensive 50, wants Revolt a long way from home, slapped out the back here towards Rioli. They can set up by hand. Oh, it's been picked off by Dersma. Floats the hand pass back here. Laddams, now a whistle on play, coming back Port's way. Dersma was felled after he got the disposal away.
Fairly by Rewalt.
He's down on the logo. It's going to be taken here by his skipper, Tom Jonas. Dersma coming off meantime.
Might be certainly winded, if not ribs.
He's stopped a couple of times. Jonas loads up. Inside forward 50 here for the Power. Can't mark that time Marshall. Down towards Cochrane. Tries to clear it from defence. Off the deck, great work. McIntosh to Lambert. The Richmond skipper put down by Gray. Forces the error. Hartlett puts Port Adelaide back inside 50. Dixon can't mark. At the drop here. Broad goes in. Grimes as well. Receives it out the back. Gets the hand pass Off to Bashahuli. He slips over, loses the football. Marshall centering ball in a hurry. Only Richmond jumpers back there. Prestia rebounds the football for the Tigers.
Rolls the dice down the middle of the ground. Bolton marks in a one-on-one. Wants to go. He's got Rioli in support. Gives the handball. Kick to an open 50. It's Lynch versus Cleary. Cleary read it brilliantly. Attacked it. Got the half volley and kicks it to immediate safety. Beyond defensive 50 over the boundary. Xavier Dersman looked a bit sick going off. Aaron, how's he look?
Not too bad, Quentin. Just winded, taking a few deep breaths on the benches, but it's likely he'll be returning. A few trainers checking him out, but doesn't seem to be in a lot of pain.
Fair to say, nature of bump fair, timing of bump late. Is that the way we go with that?
No.
Okay.
He's all right. There's nothing wrong with
Tigers,
that.
5 points.
Well, that's why they gave the free kick.
Well, that's
all it was. 5. Here they go through Rosie. Just rebounds the football here for the Power, only as far as McIntosh. It's a high ball back inside forward 50. Revolt in space. Slapped it down here. Graham. Hand pass over the top here. And now a free kick going Richmond's way for some head contact. Defensive, it will go the way of Revolt.
Cool, Spriggy too. And it was almost, when you have a look at the replay, Jack didn't even attempt to take the mark. He actually went to just tap it over the back, which he's done on 2 or 3 occasions already tonight.
And Tom Jonas, the infringing player. So Revolt here, an opportunity. A set shot, 40 out, 45-degree angle.
And those that think the Tigers make the most of their free kicks are certainly getting a chance to jeer the replay of that.
Around 11 here, Port Adelaide 22, Richmond 11 frees on that occasion.
Jack Revolt was goalless last week. This to make it 2 for the visitors. Sets it on its way. Straight over the goal, umpire's hat. Richmond 2-1-13. Port Adelaide 2 behind. 16 and a half minutes have elapsed here at Adelaide Oval on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, it was just he's attacked the ball really well though, Jack. That's the thing. He looks up and about. You can see that it's definitely been part of their MO in their pre-game about trying to just slap that ball forward and see if they can turn Port's defenders around. I mean, that's just an unfortunate free kick where you get him high, but he's gone back and made him pay. So inside 50 is 11 in favour, 11 to 10 in favour of Port, but Richmond have obviously been a little bit more efficient. Port have definitely had their opportunities, just haven't taken it.
Yeah, and to your point too, Campo, the defensive Richmond have been really solid. Numbers there. Port Adelaide haven't used the football well at all when they've gone forward. How clean they were through the middle there. And what about Tom Cleary's pickup? Under pressure, one-on-one. He was cooked if he had have fumbled that. Outstanding pickup in this weather, as still slight drizzle happening here at Adelaide Oval.
Rod Jamieson and Scott Camporelli with you on Grandstand AFL. Lycett a clear tap at the centre bounce. Boat picks up the clearance. Hand pass went to ground. Robbie Gay kicked it off the deck to attacking 50. Grimes takes a mark, having intended to spoil. But off the spoiling finger, it fell into his lap, and he claims the grab against Marshall on D50. Grimes is going to drive a right boot high towards the logo on the wing. 2-on-2 in the pack. Lynch just nudged under it by Cleary, but roving is Prestia for Richmond. Kicks it to attacking 50. Bolton's in space, but Jonas leaves his man to make the spoil. Picked up by Bonner at right half back, and his kick finds Dersma, who's obviously out there and okay.
Great work by the skipper.
Solid hit.
Dersma off a couple of steps, just roosts it towards half forward, just forward to the wing here. Missed Cochin, bounced out the back again. Marshall, clever tap into space. Can he make use of it now? Floats it forward for Gray. In the pocket, looks dangerous. Chops the hand pass inboard. Even outside of it, kick was smothered. It'll roll towards goal. And on the last line, it's been finished off for the Power. Great work from Connor Rosie to make use of it. Improvisation. The initial kick from Ebert was smothered, but Rosie just got a boot to it right on the goal line, and Port Adelaide hits back. They are 1-2-8. Richmond 2-1-13. 5 points that margin. 18 and a half played opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, put that down to the captain, Tom Jonas. He left his man in a really dangerous position. He doesn't have an impact on that aerial contest in the back 50. That goes down for an easy goal to Richmond. But they counter-attack. They return serve. They hack the ball forward. I think Ebert was pretty lucky there. If that had gone through for a point, Connor Rose would have been filthy with him. But that's the settler I think Point just needed, just to make sure that they actually got one on the board. They could just relieve a little bit of the pressure of the game. They've now hit the scoreboard. Now they get down to business now.
Todd Marshall injured his shoulder against Geelong too. There was some concern. Ken Hinkley said he's such a smart footballer.
And the crowd gets into it, centre bounce. Wide a chance with the clearance, not an effective disposal. Battles on at ground level. Ball still in the middle of the ground. Asprey taps it off the deck for Richmond. Only a tumbler to the outer wing. Powell Pepper for Port. First to meet it. Fumbles, gathers, slips over. Hassled by Pickett. Ball comes free to Baker of Richmond. He's tackled, got rid of it. Went through the legs of Dersma. Martin kicks it off the ground. Kicked off the ground by Houston. Picked up by Short on the wing. It is a slippery night. He bangs it high to half forward. But underneath is Cleary to take the mark for Port Adelaide. Richmond 2-1-13, leading Port 1-2-8. And we played 20 minutes of the first quarter.
Cleary's 99th AFL game. Might he dream of a milestone next week in the grand final? He kicks and finds Ebert. Finds some space around Baker. Loads up, goes inside forward 50 here at the city end. Getting back here now. Laddams had a hand over the Cole that time on Grimes, and that will be a Richmond free kick. And no worries there.
Slow to get up to. Yeah, right arm over Dylan Grimes' shoulder.
So Grimes in the right back pocket. Richmond having had consecutive goals to start. Connor Rosie a short time ago for Port Adelaide. Now he ran. He's kicked us out of bounds on the full.
Just go back a bit here, Spriggy, too. So Richmond player is shepherded. Peter Laddams, and he's dropped one into the meat and veg.
Yeah, Noah Bolter's down. And now getting a shot on the replay. Yep, it's one of those. I won't get suspended for this, so I'm going to give you one and cop a fine for it from Peter Laddams.
Oh, he's...
Anyway, Richmond inbound from the right back pocket.
Bit cheeky.
I'll stick to the description of football. Cleary under the pack. His kick shimmies 10 or 15 metres upfield. Tapped infield, though, by Pickett near the boundary, only to Lycett of Port. On attacking 50 for the power. Hands it to Wines. Hands it to Powell Pepper. Banana from 50 out. It's to the line, but unable to be marked by Marshall under pressure from Vlosten. Through for a point. Tigers by 4 points at 2-1-13 to 1-3-9.
Well, to be fair, he shouldn't be there anyway. The umpires shouldn't be allowed to have that player standing on the mark anyway. Not that he deserves to get punched, but he'll get off that.
Lawson goes long. Lycett nudges underneath it. Hand pass comes from Cleary. Back to Burne-Jones. Going inside forward 50. Gray not paid the mark. Pressure loose football. Sends a hand pass into space. Dersma at left half forward here. In front of the boundary line. Hand pass now picked off. It's going to go out of play. Lynch will be dumped after the fact as well. We'll throw it back in. 60 around from the goal at the city end.
Right in front of a big pack of Port Adelaide players, Port Adelaide fans who take the opportunity to stand and hoot and point at Tom Lynch.
Tigers by 4 points. 2-1 plays 1-3.
Throw in left half forward for Port, who are taking the river end. Lycett down to Gray. Great work. Quick kick inside 50. Two Tigers spoil each other. Vlosten and Baker. Ground level. Ricochets to Rockcliffe of Port. His tumbling kick met on the half volley by Laddams, but not controlled. Dixon and Baker put their heads over it. Comes clear. And the ball goes over the boundary line. I think it was Short with that kick, and he's going to be penalised. No, it was Asprey. And he is penalised for not trying to keep the ball in play. Carl Amon, well, right side for the left footer in the right forward pocket. But on a slippery night, this is a real tester from 40 metres out right on the boundary.
He uses the football well.
Left footer. Yeah. He can at least sort of open up the angle a little bit better. That pocket's actually quite a bit more open than what you think from there.
And for those visualising, it's the same assignment that Jack Nunes had for Carlton against Fremantle, essentially. Wrong side of the body, though. Not the same result. It'll come down in the goal square. Fisted to the pocket. Asprey battling there with Dersma. Dersma taps it for Lycett. Prestia gets in the way. Ebert picks up his hand pass along the deck. Kicked away by Short of Richmond, but only to Rockcliffe, who shumps it somehow to Gray. He's 50 out and his kick is precise. And watch out. Dersma's got the footy. 40 metres out. Tough angle to the left.
Robbie Gray is a benchmark. You know, if he has a good night and he looks fresh, he's moving well. Skilled in these conditions, just grabbed it one hand. Initially, I thought it was actually Connor Rosie, the way he was moving. And then onto his left and found his teammate.
Well, it's good pressure, good forward line pressure by Port, small forwards. But Richmond had 17 players inside 50 there.
He'll draw the bow from the quiver. Xavier Dersma. Can he set Adelaide Oval alight on his right boot? And indeed, Port Adelaide hit the lead. It was a very quick release on the Robin Hood there. It wasn't the pose, statuesque style, but he still gave the salute. It's Port 2-3, Richmond 2-1, late first quarter.
It was a great finish by the young man. Obviously an inexperienced player, but they're all into Lynch. After he kicked the goal, he went straight beeline for him. So there's 4 or 5 of them, 6 of them. They're all going at Tom Lynch. Whether he said something on the mark, I'm not too sure. But they certainly weren't happy with the treatment that he gave Dersma.
Oh, the theatre of it all, Jono.
Wow, it was a power. It was a power shot, wasn't it?
Really quick.
Over the riverbank stand. There he goes. Tommy Lynch has just walked straight up to Dersma, and that's how it's all happened. Big Scotty Lycett with that monster moustache has come in and had something to say.
Well, we saw Xavier Dersma's courage in the qualifying final, didn't we? In that contest against Blitzarves, for which he got concussion for his troubles. That's what you want to see from your young players, from all your players. But certainly absorbing the pressure so far tonight. Lycett, a big hit out here for the power. Palpappa reaching for it, gets to it. Hand passes chopped off. Cochin coming across him. Now Martin affects the error. Picked off here by Baker of the Tigers. Tumbled towards the outer wing. Bolton now slides a kick out towards right half forward. Lambert sockers it back inboard. Now inside attacking 50 here for the Tigers. Numbers in defence though with the power. Hartlett though lost it. Palpappa, quick hand pass off the boat. Can they use the corridor? The former skipper comes in the 45 towards the wing commentary side. Sits up on the bounce for Gray. Close the hand pass forward Motlop. He's 55 out. Ford gives chase, Cutler with him. Tumbles a kick inside forward 50. Picked off by Richmond defenders. And it's rebounded here by Castagna going beyond defensive 50. Ebert tracks it back. Puts the power back inside 50 now at the river end, and coming in with a big telling spoil. Gloston will throw it back in 30 around from the Port Adelaide goal. It's the home side who leads 2-3-15 to Richmond 2-1-13 in the shadows of quarter time here in the prelim at Adelaide Oval.
So that's their 4th inside 50 where they're good players, they're good ball users, have just butchered it inside forward 50 and given Richmond a let-off.
And the siren ends any further first quarter action. And the fans in Adelaide stand to applaud their team who have done enough to get to the lead at the first change on this wet night. I think the rain's getting heavier, by the way, gentlemen. What an attritional first quarter we have seen. Port Adelaide 2-3-15, lead Richmond 2-1-13. The Tigers kicked the first 2 goals and Port was able to answer in kind. Rosie and Dersma, 2 of the young stars with the goals for Port. Martin and Revolt, 2 of the old rusted-on superhero champs for the Tigers with the goals for Richmond. And it is starting to pour here. It's not mizzle anymore. It is absolutely bucketing down at quarter time at Adelaide Oval. If you want to get in touch, we would love to hear from you. The SMS number is 0437 774 774. That's 0437 774 774. Grant, a great supporter of ours, listening on Sydney News Radio. Best wishes to all in Victoria, especially the Palmers in Geelong, listening in Waterloo in Sydney. Good on you, Grant. Go Port in year 150, he says. 0437 774 774. In the National Rugby League, the first of the preliminary finals is underway at Lang Park in Brisbane. And 21 minutes in, a great start for the Melbourne Storm over the Canberra Raiders. It's the Storm 18. Leading the Green Machine 0. Quarter time here at Adelaide Oval. It's Port by 2 points. The start of preliminary finals weekend on the national broadcast of the ABC through Grandstand AFL.
We are one, but we are many.
ABC Radio is here with you
When times are tough.
when you want to share your local stories and want to connect with your community.
We are your local voice.
ABC Radio is here with you.
We are Australia.
The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
Dylan Grimes. He's 65 from goal. High ball towards the teeth of goal here for the Tigers. Lynch. Revolt tries to get the sit. Tucks it down towards Martin. He snaps across his body. And Dustin Martin has the first major of the prelim. Marshall, clever tap into space. Can he make use of it now? Floats it forward for Gray. In the pocket, looks dangerous. Chops the hand pass inboard. Ebert outside of it. Kick was smothered. It'll roll towards goal. And on the last line, it's been finished off for the power. Great work from Connor Rosie.
Ebert picks up his hand pass along the deck. Kicked away by short of Richmond, but only to Rockcliffe, who shumps it somehow to Gray. He's 50 out and his kick is precise. And watch out. Dersma's got the footy. Xavier Dersma, can he set Adelaide over the line on his right boot? And indeed, Port Adelaide hit the lead.
The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
Wet and tough preliminary final footy in the City of Churches. Nice to have you with us on Grandstand AFL. My name is Quentin Hull. Port Adelaide, the minor premier, lead Richmond, the reigning premier, by 2 points at quarter time. Power 2-3. Richmond 2-1. 1997 Premiership Crow, Rod Jamieson. 1995 Premiership Blues, Scott Camporelli. They know what footy's like at this time of year. Wet, tough, hard stuff. How was the first quarter in your eyes?
Yeah, well, it's been, exactly what the conditions we thought it was going to be. It's a tight, tough, contested game. Port Adelaide have just got their nose in front of there. Both teams are tackling really well. Port have just got the ascendancy, particularly from a ground ball situation. Just think that they've surged the ball a little bit better and have been a bit more dominant in there. But I think there's two stats, if I talk to you through this, Jamo and the boys, is Port have been able to intercept Richmond coming out of their forward half. They've intercepted it 13 times. That means that they're actually keeping the ball in their forward half, which is what Port Adelaide would be really looking forward to. But the only issue is they haven't been able to hit the scoreboard. Richmond, on the flip side, have been able to intercept 13 in their D50, which means Port are getting it deeper, but Port are then turning it over on the way out. So in terms of the time in forward half, 63% to Port Adelaide to 37 to Richmond. So Richmond have actually held sway pretty well, considering the domination of Port in the territory battle, if it was what I'm talking about.
I think they've relied too. Tommy Jonas, individual efforts, and Tom Cleary too could have gone either way, just to leave their man and take the football as cleanly as they did to actually save one of the two inside 50s from Richmond's perspective. The other way too, I think it was Liam Baker just late in that quarter that actually just took it so cleanly as Port Adelaide entered into their 50. In that quarter, Port Adelaide 19, Richmond 12. So to Campo's point, they just haven't used the football well when they've gone forward. Thought Richmond a little bit their way early, and then Port Adelaide start to swing the game a little bit way in their favour.
It's typical of the way Richmond plays, isn't it? It's absorbing pressure of these big occasions. Port were a bit frenetic to start with. They're settling in now, of course, but it was typical Richmond football.
Absolutely, and that's what you expect. But you're right, I think they did settle in Port. Once the Rosie goal, I think that just released the pressure valve just a little bit. They didn't get reward for effort, and being a player and a coach, is when the numbers are saying that you should be in front on the scoreboard, but you're not, that can breed a little bit of frustration amongst both crews there. But Port got hung in there. They actually swayed the ball back, and as I said, they played the game in their front half, probably the last 6 or 7 minutes, and got reward for effort.
Individual numbers, Dersma, Gray and Powell Pepper, all with 7 possessions for Port Adelaide. 6 apiece for Wines, Ebert, Boak and Cleary. Richmond's leading possession winners, well, there's a heap with 5. Bolter, Prestia, Lambert, Martin, Cochin, Graham, Bolton. Overall, Port had 13 more uses of the ball, 85 disposals to 72. The marks, 11 to Port, 9 to Richmond. Contested possessions, by the way, plus 5 to Port at 41 to 36. There'll be not many that are uncontested tonight in these conditions. 15 tackles apiece, clearances 8 apiece, inside 50, plus 7 to Port at 19 to 12.
Well, I think this is just a small sample size, again, of how efficient Richmond play football. They don't need as much football. They don't cover as much ground. They use the football better, which is indicated here. 53 to 46% in favour of kicking efficiency as well. 12 inside 50s versus 19, and they're only down by 2 points. So, again, it's only one quarter, but they were the numbers that were similar in round 11 totality at the end of that game for Port Adelaide to get at 21 points. So the ability for them to combat here, third quarter against Geelong is where Port Adelaide kicked 3 goals. Still a lot of football well before then, though.
Hi to Freddie. Thank you for your text. The number is 0437 774 774. Driving from Perth to Dunsborough, southwest of WA, loving the coverage. Karen the Pair. Thank you, Freddie. Question here, when was the last time Port won the grand final? They only ever won it once. That was in 2004. The last time, indeed, they finished as minor premier. They beat Brisbane on that occasion at the MCG. Second term with Brett Sprigg.
Lycett v Nankervis. Nankervis hits it out here out of the air, though it's socked forward. Great work it was by Rockcliffe, and it's marked by Gray. Going inside forward 50 here, the power. High ball towards Motlop. Gave a nudge that time on Broad. Loses the football right on the paint of 50. Hooley now goes to ground. Dixon wrapped him up, and the umpire will ball up right on 50 at right half forward at Cathedral end. That's Port's attacking end, and they have a 2-point lead coming back from quarter time.
Aaron Pedersen, thank you for your SMS. He'd like to see the Tigers go back-to-back. It'll be 3 in 4 years if indeed they can win this year. No great creation from the stoppage on attacking 50 for Port. Back out of play, boundary throw in. Right near the scoreboard at the Cathedral end on this drizzly night. Still what a sight. The Adelaide Oval scoreboard with the lights from on low illuminating the beautiful Cathedral at the northern end of the Adelaide Oval. Lycett with a tap down. Hooley there for Richmond, though. Not great timing on his kick. Picked up by Short. Shunts it to Prestia. He just kicks it off the ground. From defensive 50 to the middle of the ground. Revolt shunts it to Martin. Martin clean hands. Hand passes to Pickett. Beats a tackle, runs to the bullseye, and kicks to Lynch. Late arriving spoil from Bronner brings it to ground. Castagna kicks it off the ground from 50 to the pocket. Royoli is there to rove. Hand pass to Lynch. A step and a snap from the villain. Is punched through for a point by Dersma. He's doing it at both ends, or should I say the same end, because they've changed ends, but you get the vernacular. At Port Adelaide 2-3, Richmond 2-2, a point that if.
They'd be disappointed with that, Port, to go anytime you get a structure in deep in your forward 50 and then go coast to coast. They'd be disappointed with that.
Houston uses the corridor. Marshall spilled the slippery footy. Hooley arrives to it, reaching for it, can't get there. Rockcliffe, an awkward hand pass, picked up by Dixon. His hand pass even more awkward. Ricochets down towards Marshall. Amon spreads it out wide. Off a step, they go forward here, the power through Burton. Awkward half volley this time for Vlosten sliding through. Boat sockers it forward, as does Motlop. Inside 50 now here, Port Adelaide. Slap back here towards Gray. Now Rosie working his way through space. Back to Amon. Wines, 60 from goal. Goes inside 50. Lycett, second bite, can't pull it in. Slapped away here, Rockcliffe. It comes back out wide. Butters, they can finish this one off again from Rosie in the pocket. Yes! Superb finish. Considered build-up play from Port Adelaide. That is a second for Connor Rosie, and they get the first of the second quarter. Port Adelaide 3-3-21, Richmond 2-2-14, margin 7. We've played only a couple of minutes inside the second term here on Grandstand AFL.
Well, it's just been a bit of a ground ball battle, and I thought Port just overhandballed it just through the middle of the ground there. Richmond were going to counter-attack, but they found an opening. They hacked the ball forward. I think it was Boak that socked the ball forward, but Rosie's come to play. His energy looks good. He's been building. He's missed a bit of footy this year, Jamo, but the last couple of weeks feel like he's just covering the ground a bit better.
Yeah, he did his ankle, didn't he, up at Brisbane too, in one of the games up there, and had a couple of weeks off, but I guess this is the respectful commentary. You're as good as your second tier or your third tier players. Already, Dersma has had a monster first quarter in his second year. Connor Rosie in his second year has kicked 2 goals. Butters has been lively, hasn't had a lot of touches, but there's 3 that have stepped up already in this game.
Restart in the middle of the ground. Pickett with the clearance for the Tigers. Hand passes to Edwards. Rush kick wide to right half forward. It's going to roll out of play in front of guess who? Tom Lynch.
He's the only one that's getting the boos, isn't he?
Yeah. It's a great thing about the sound effects microphone, Jamo. Let it do the talking for you.
Well, it's either them or the umpires, isn't it? So
Tigers attacking the River Torrens end in this second quarter. It's Port Adelaide by 7 points. Throw in on attacking 50 for Richmond. Tapped boundary side. Pal Pepper first there for Port. He'll see it to the safety of the line, will he? No, keeps it in. Taps it to Butters. Hand pass to Jonas. Under pressure, rides a tackle. Hands it to Wines and they're out. With a kick from left half back to the wing. Floston leaves his man to fist the pack. Thumps it to the middle of the ground, overrun by McIntosh. Picked up by Amon eventually with the slippery pill. Gave it to Boak. His kick semi-smothered. Hard to control in these cake of soap-like condition. Picked up by Broad of Richmond. Kick gathered there by Lambert. 70 from goal, hands it to Prestia. He hands it backwards to Nankervis off a stepper. Hoping kick to half forward. Hits the lap of Bolton. 45 from goal and he takes the chest mark.
just both sides really struggling to take it cleanly, aren't they, too? They've had opportunities really sharp when they're actually on the attack or in defence, but second and third.
Shea Bolton has had a terrific season. In the absence of those real midfield guns, spent a lot of time in the middle of the ground earlier in the year. 45 degrees to the right, slippery ball, 50 out. Right boot from Bolton's got the journey, but it's right-hand side for a behind. Port's lead is a neat goal at 3-3 to 2-3. You're on Grandstand AFL, 5 minutes into the second quarter of the preliminary final.
Dan Houston. Now in number 5 this year, used to wear 43, goes long beyond defensive 50, out of edge of the square, up there, Bolter for the Tigers, slaps it out into space, Amon spills it, hand pass back to Houston, standing start again, clears it away, up goes Laddams, can't pull in the mark, had Grimes for company, ricochets down towards Hooley, the Tigers here can work it forward, Graham, hand pass back to Edwards, loads up, kicking hope inside forward 50, Lynch gets separation on Cleary, can't finish off the grab. Comes back from Houston, the mops up in defence here. Back to Amon. Last line here for Port Adelaide in defence. Comes across the defensive goal mouth and works it okay to his skipper, Jonas.
He just did all the hard work, got himself right, took one grab and couldn't grab it on the second occasion, Tom Lynch.
Originally a rookie-listed player, Tom Jonas, now captain of this proud club, kicks it to left half back for Port. Ground level, Vlosten tangles on the deck there with Rosie. Ball comes back to him and he is swamped by the tackle of Ebert. And the umpire says, I'll ball it up. Absolutely no opportunity for Nick Vlosten to try and create with the ball there. Still just attacking side of the wing for Richmond. Lycett and Nankervis do the ruck work near the boundary line, and it's out of play. So it will be thrown in. Port Adelaide led by 2 points at quarter time. It's now a 6-point lead for the Power at 3-3-21 to 2-3-15. Quentin Hull and Brett Sprigg describing with Rod Jamieson and Scott Camporelli and Aaron Bryans on the boundary.
Umpire tosses it back in, Nankervis lays it down here only as far as Rockcliffe. Hurried kick up in the air, ball still in dispute. Bounced out the back here, Ebert soccers it, just hacks it forward towards half forward here for the Power. McIntosh gets there in defence, left half back now breaking into space. Wobbly kick, Burne-Jones slides through, he can't finish it off. Hooley back to Martin here. The Tigers are away. Wobbly ball spiralling towards half forward. Takes a little bounce here in the lap of Lycett. He's dumped in the tackle. Great work by his opposite number, Bolton. Shea Bolton, a superb pressure act. He's attacking half. He'll take his free kick from just forward of the wing. Plays on quickly. He's 55 from goal. Sends it high towards the top of the square. 2-on-2. Lynch up in front. Ball up in the air now. Castagna worried out of it this time. They'll clear it away. The Power towards the boundary line. And the umpire says that is deliberate. So he's pinged Mackenzie, who's kicked for salvation. It's a Richmond ball in the left forward pocket, 48 out.
I think we'd all agree on that. He was looking for nowhere else other than the boundary.
So McIntosh is the man with the football for Richmond, where the paint of 50 meets the paint of the boundary at left half forward at the River Torrens end. Camden McIntosh, along with Jack Graham, those that missed out last year who played in the 2017 Premiership. This would be some finish if he could kick a goal from here. Right foot from right on the 50 junction of the boundary. It's to the top of the goal mouth. Off the pack. Roved by Graham. Tackled and dispossessed. Boat picks up for Port. Hacks it to defensive 50, but underneath it only Richmond colours. Pickett takes the grab for the Tigers.
How relaxed as he plays football.
Still playing VFL this time last year, or so to speak, 13 months previous. He kicks to full forward. Does Pickett off the hands of the pack and out of play. And we'll see a boundary throw in with Richmond in attack. Port 3-3, Richmond 2-3 on Grandstand AFL early second quarter in Adelaide.
There has been nothing conventional about Marlon Pickett's time in the AFL so far. Debut in front of 100,000 people last year. And the weirdness and challenging COVID year 2020. Back in it comes. Pal Pepper roves it here in defence. Gives it to Rockcliffe. Hurries it beyond defensive 50. But watchful that time, Vlosten. Had a Port Adelaide player flying through Butters. Umpire says play on. Vlosten kicks on the 45. Inside 50 and finds the chest of Dustin Martin. 35 perhaps, 40 out.
Darcy Bird-Jones is so much better than that. He needs to just play his game. Be aware, he's an All-Australian player. He loves going at the football. He defends really strongly, but had no interest at all in the football then. At all.
That was far too easy, just seeing on the replay of Little nudge in the side from Martin on Burne-Jones. Burne-Jones stands the mark, 35 out. Justin Martin lining up for his second. You can't allow players of his calibre to break the game open. And this is snuck in for goal number 2 for Dusty. Richmond hits back to level things up. 3-3, 21 apiece, midway through the second term here on Grandstand AFL, ABC Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
And that's what Richmond do. They've dominated the field position, so it's really hard in the AFL game, and it doesn't matter what team you play. If you get locked deep in your back 50 and the forwards keep losing their position and get up in the ground trying to defend and fill space, it's really difficult to get the ball out. And Richmond's forward, their pressure is unbelievable. So any high-flighted ball comes back out. But you're right, Jamo. Burne-Jones, really disappointing with that. That's 2 for Dusty. He's dangerous.
Need a swimming cap on the boundary, Aaron?
It's definitely the heaviest it's been all night, Quentin. So the rain tumbling down here at the Adelaide Oval. Toby Nankervis on the bench. The power putting a lot of work into him off the ball as the sole ruckman. So David Asprey will start this contest in the middle.
Goggles and flippers are welcome.
Not quite, but it's getting that point, isn't it? I mean, we walked over from the city in drizzling rain this afternoon, but it's now pretty heavy.
Backstroke would be a struggle.
Koch and Rose in the centre of the ground for Richmond. Scores tied up in the prelim. Kick to attacking 50 for the Tigers. What a terrific, courageous mark from Houston. Got a bit of a whack from Tom Lynch too. Hence the boos. Oh, the theatre of it all. Houston on defensive 50 for Port Adelaide. Kicks the Sharon back to the middle of Adelaide Oval. Floston punches the pack, but Powell Pepper Rose kicks the power wide to left half forward. Broad there with Marshall. Well read by Broad. Marks for Richmond and plays on. From left half back, kicks to Rioli. It's a short pass from Rioli. Just forward of left half back, takes the grab. Now circles quickly on his right boot. Drives the ball to half forward. Houston there with Lambert. Revolt there as well. Revolt had it. Tackled by Ebert. Play on, says the umpire. Ebert goes again. His kick gets smothered by Short. The ricochets over the boundary. Throw in between wing and left half forward for the Tigers.
I was watching the umpire there. He put his hand up to his mouth to do it and then pulled it back down. There's nothing worse when you sit in the coach's box and they do that.
It's like the old cricket umpire removes the hand to scratch his nose.
Ponchos are plenty on the outer side in the open air. Graham slides in. Hacked out of the air this time by Asprey. Goes inside forward 50, but getting back here. McKenzie prevents any further advance and marks it right full back. The ex-Gold Coast Sun on that left boot. Long towards the outer wing. Dixon in the 2-on-1. Beats them. Standing strong. Plucks the mark overhead.
Great body work from the bearded wonder from Cairns. On the left boot, Charlie Dixon drives Port Adelaide to half forward. Grimes in front of Laddams. Laddams tangled him illegally and that gave away the free kick. Question here from Marty, who is a Geelong supporter from Albury. On hearing the game, give us the story as to why Tom Lynch is being booed by Port. One assumes he was a Port player, but didn't he also play a club before them? No, he didn't play for Port, he played for Gold Coast, but he's had a few fines for some indiscretions this year, and there's a perception that perhaps he toes the line a little bit too... errs on the side of aggressive too often, and that's why he's become a bit of a villain. So thank you. Port from across half-back, kick to the middle of the ground. Amon there with Butters and Pickett battling for the ball on the deck. Cochin keeps his feet, wins the Sharon. Hand passes dropped by Lambert. Tackled by Burne-Jones. Ball they call. Play on, says the ump. Baker has a go. He's tackled by Amon. Ball out of play. Oh, they gave it second time. They gave it second time. Free kick to Amon at left half-back. I am a power virgin, so to speak, here at Adelaide Oval. No. I am loving this noise, Gemmo.
There'll be no shortage of noise tonight, and it is only half full at Adelaide Oval tonight with 27 available.
Sends it deep. Laddams standing strong on the logo. Dixon, in fact, gets the free kick for the block, so he'll take it. Kick up the line now, getting in some space. Rosie 65, wheels around, centering ball high inside forward 50. Ebert and Powell Pepper, no real height there. Coming through late, Marshall, losing the football. Socket clear this time by Jaden Short for the Tigers. Revolt sends it up that direction as well. Inside the centre square, it's gathered by Hartlett off the deck. Hand pass out wide, McKenzie evades Revolt here. Loads up inside 50 here for the power. 2-on-3. Oh, coming across. Noah Bolter could have marked perhaps, although it is slippery, and he just gives a fist to that. It goes out right on the junction of 50. at Richmond's defensive end. Port Adelaide attacking towards the Cathedral end here at Adelaide Oval, and it's 3-3-21 apiece.
It's the way they defend, Spriggy, isn't it, too? Like, they're not sure, they leave their man, they go over and help out, and I think it was Butters 1 against 3 in favour of Richmond.
Rod Jamison on Grandstand AFL. Ponchos are plenty in the crowd as the ball's thrown in. Cathedral end right half forward flank for the Power. Wines has a go. Kicked off the ground there by Graham, but picked up by Burn-Jones. Kick inside 50. Dixon crashes the pack. Rosie again from Eddie's pocket. Snaps it cleverly across the face of goal. And Dersma drops a chest mark. Under the pressure from the arriving defence, short clears for Richmond. Kick to the wing. Cleary was able to stop the footy, then lost his footing. Lynch gives a hand pass to Lambert. He's tackled. No prior. Ball up. Well, Xavier Dersma, we're getting another shot on the big screen. Straight through his hands. And on Connor Rosie's form, I thought he was going for another one there.
He had the bow out, ready to go.
I think he did, Gemma. I was just going to say the same thing.
Yeah. 16 played, second term, scores level. Bolton pushed off the kick. It arrives to Motlop. Spiralling inside forward 50. It'll get loose out the back. Gloston tracking it to a vacant goal square. Gathers on the last line of defence. In the left back pocket, turns and comes beyond defensive 50. Needs to find Castagna. Castagna spills it out over the boundary line. So we'll chuck it back in between wing and half back at Richmond's defensive end. It is 3 goals, 3 apiece. 16 and a half now played. Brett Sprigg, Quentin Hull, Scott Camporelli, Rod Jamison here on Grandstand AFL.
And you open yourself up to Dersma earlier, and that's where Tommy Lynch hasn't endeared himself. He went over and let Xavier Dersma know, and the Port crowd weren't all that happy with it.
Rockcliffe is deemed holding the ball at the clearance. Asprey with the tackle for Richmond at left half back. 3-3 apiece on a wet night at Adelaide Oval. Asprey for Richmond kicks them to attacking 50. Through the fingers of Revolt McKenzie. Ebert arrives, picks up, gets tackled and dispossessed by Revolt. Ball on the slippery turf. McKenzie picks up. He's tackled by Graham. Ump lets them play. Boat with a little hand pass. Tapped though by the advantage of Edwards to Bolton for Richmond. Hands it out the back to Hooley. Spiralling kick 40 from goal. Back of the pack goes through the legs of Burton. Arriving, sliding in Jonas for Port. Hand pass to Burn-Jones. Hand pass to Burton. On his right. Kicks out on the full, or did it bounce before going beyond defensive 50? It's called out on the bounce. Throw in. Right half back for Port, left half forward for Richmond. Tigers 1 goal, 2 to Port's 1 straight in this term. And it's 3-3-21 apiece. 17 minutes played in this second quarter.
Back in it comes. Laddams v Asprey. Slapped down here towards Ebert for the Power. Hurries it towards the outer wing. Hooley, second bite against Gray. Can't put in the grab. Lays the follow-up tackle. And he legs him. Free kick, Port Adelaide. Gray has players breaking for him. Ebert runs by. Receives the hand pass. It's a loopy ball forward for Boat. Now Rockcliffe put down by Cochin. It's a hotly contested football. Broad just snuggles a kick up the line now. Sits up on the bounce for Rioli. Gets around Burn-Jones. Loses the football, however. Hartlett swoops through. Just hacks it for the soccer. Ebert gathers. Off the deck again to Gray. Has another go. Short kick goes out of bounds on the full. Or was it touched off the boot? And we'll throw it back in. Whatever the case. From the eastern wing here at Adelaide Oval. 3-3-21 it remains. Late in this second term here on Grandstand AFL.
Rain persisting.
Just enough to be a nuisance, isn't it, too?
Ball thrown in. Asprey to the shallow throw in for Richmond. Tap down, but only to Wines of Port. Rush kick to attacking 50 is out on the full.
Unless you're a wheat farmer.
Free kick left back pocket. How's the rain been in this part of the world, Jamo?
We've had a fair share in recent weeks, so I wouldn't have thought we needed. Surprising at this time of the year as well. Not that I'm a representative of the
meteorologist.
The far from it.
Okay, Hooley long kick from...
Although it's probably the only industry you get it wrong almost every day, though, isn't it? And still keep your job.
Left half back. Laddams is going to get a free kick on the wing, in the wet for Port. On the logo, he kicks them back to attacking 50. Bolter takes the grab. It fell into his pecs. And on second thoughts, he decided to take the mark, Spriggy. 3-3 apiece it remains.
25 out from defensive goal. Bolter sets it back towards the outer side. Running start. Laddams paid the mark on the outer wing.
So that's Shea Bolton, is it? Just limping from that contest in the middle of the ground? No,
that's Graham.
Yep.
Laddams comes out wide for Ebert. That helmeted head, Brad Ebert. Recent 250 gamer. Short ball coming inboard. Wines plays on. Didn't quite hear the footsteps this time of Lynch. Goes inside forward 50. Spoil from the back, Grimes. Cochrane mops up in defence. Has Hooley nearby, but he was spun around in the tackle and the hand pass goes out of bounds. We'll throw it back in. 45 around from Port Adelaide's goal, Cathedral, and the 3-3, 21 it remains.
Graham just to the bench, Aaron Bryans.
Just getting checked out by the trainers at the moment. Very ginger as he came off, but doesn't look like he's in complete duress at the moment. I'll let you know how he fares in the next couple of minutes.
Throw-in on attacking 50 for Port at the Cathedral end. Again, shallow throw-in Asprey against Laddams. Picking up Ebert for Port. Kick inside 50. Dived at and marked by Vlosten on his chest. Gets up quickly. Kicks the Tigers to the outer wing. Lynch in the one-on-one there with Cleary off fists out of play. And a boundary throw-in will be the result. Loving your messages. We'll get to them when we get to the break at half-time if you want to get in touch. 0437 774 774. Your night at the footy. Preliminary finals weekend. Tomorrow night it's Brisbane and Geelong at the Gabba. Hope you're enjoying it with us on the ABC. I'm Quentin Hull with Brett Sprigg. Two premiership players, your analysts tonight, Rod Jamieson and Scott Camporelli, and 27,000 in the house at Adelaide Oval.
Laddams this time beats McKenzie. Edwards shoved off the kick. Martin's kick goes nowhere as well. Burn-Jones here tries to clear. Baker collides with the umpire. Ball comes loose. Motlop to Dersma. They're queuing up here, Port Adelaide. Going inside forward 50. Dixon can't finish it off. Had Bolter for company. Sliding through. Marshall kept it alive only for a moment. And it's bouncing off Dixon's shins and going out of bounds for a throw-in. Not far away from you, Aaron Bryans.
You know, huge concern for Jack Graham. It was his right ankle that he tweaked, but he's up and about. Should be back on shortly.
About 2 minutes of playing time left before half-time. In a low-scoring second term, 3-3 at peace. Throwing left half forward for Port. Tap down from Laddams to Wines. Kick across half forward, marked by Dersma. He's too far out. Edge of the centre square for Xavier Dersma. He's going to chip it short to attacking 50. Wines is still too far out as he marks 52 from goal.
That is the shortest 10-metre kick.
Which is 5 metres short of the legal 15, Jamo. Wines will kick to the pocket. Cochrane flies off the back of Laddams. Spoils the pack. Ground level. Cavalry arrives. Who comes clear? Voston ducks his head. Gets it clear though through quick hands. From Castagna to Cochrane, clearing kick from defensive 50 to the wing. Port there in numbers though. Wines with a gather, hands it to McKenzie. Left foot kick to half forward and Motlop went before acceptances over the head of Baker. Free kick to the Richmond man at defensive 50.
Baker kicks it high towards the commentary wing. Nankervis stands up in the contest against McKenzie. Palpepper bursting through. Now a throw. He's been pinged for incorrect disposal, so it's going to be a Richmond ball.
He got picked up a couple of times against Geelong like that as well.
Nankervis, wobbly ball, high towards the paint of 50. Ebert floats in, doesn't complete the chest mark. Lambert to Rioli. Now Bolton comes out wide. Hawley spun it before he had it. Might work out okay though for short. 45 out, closer to goal. Needs a lead here. Castagna reaching for it. Needs some company. Gets it off to Prestia, who sprays it out of bounds on the full. Again, Power forced the error. They are beating Richmond at their own game in these little contests. And no score forthcoming. It remains 3-3-21. Very late in quarter number 2 here at Adelaide Oval.
Asterisks to editorial policies. Interestingly, we've got advertisements for Get Your Goat On, the goat soap. And it is like a cake of soap out there. I think that's the only time I could get away with mentioning a commercial brand on the ABC, Spriggy. What do you think? Just these little things that you picture in the game. Burn-Jones with the short kick, receives in the right back pocket, kicks beyond defensive 50. The soap goes through the hands of Dixon, but he goes again, Big Charlie. Nankervis wraps him up and the umpire says no prior. For the pure aesthetics of the contest, hopefully the rain might stop a bit. It's a very hard footy to get a handle on. Nankervis taps down, but only to Rockcliffe. Port's clearance through Gray, through Lysett, through hands to Dersma. Here's the kick from right half back to the wing. Ebert flies in a 2-on-2. Got a chest but can't mark, and Vlosten close to the line shows no intention of keeping it in, but legally sees it out for a throw-in. Power just attacking side of halfway. But I don't think we'll have enough time for another score in this tight, wet first half of preliminary final footy.
I'll keep an eye on it, Q.
Having a look at push and shove, yes. I just let the siren do its thing, Jamo, and I was observing there. Lysett, among others, are just a little intent that we might get a halftime flare-up, but I think the rain doused that very quickly, Rod. We are locked up at halftime. Port Adelaide 3-3-21. Richmond 3-3-21. Only 4 scoring shots in that second quarter. Richmond with 1-2 and Port with 1 straight. So what was a 2-point lead for Port Adelaide at quarter time is now locked up at 3-3 apiece at the main break. Connor Rosie has 2 goals for Port Adelaide, Xavier Dersma the other. And for Richmond, Dustin Martin has 2 goals, while Jack Revolt has the other. The weather is certainly playing its hand. Very tight contest. Love the thoughts of Rod Jamieson and Scott Camporelli here on Grandstand AFL at half-time. We are no closer to the answers we had before the opening bounce. Or are we?
Well, not really. It's the game's in the balance. I mean, Port dominated the first quarter in terms of field position. I think Richmond dominated that quarter but couldn't get the ascendancy in front of goal. I mean, both teams kicked a goal. But in terms of the overall entirety of the match, as we said, Port are still winning contested possession. They're still winning ground ball. I mean, from a clearance point of view, the interesting thing I want to have a look at after half-time, guys, is Richmond are so good at getting or generating the extra one. Port is sending one up to the stoppage, and it's allowing Vlosten the one just to be the extra back there. He's a great intercept mark. Now, it's not a marking night, but the ability to spoil and then be the extra one out of their defensive 50 is going to be the issue. But, yeah, the game's in the balance. It's a really tight, contested game. There's, you could argue a case for both teams to be in front on the scoreboard, but clearly that's why it's a draw.
I think there's going to be some of the stats. It's just going to be the ones that have, I guess, are going to stand out in critical parts of the ground. The contested marks, it doesn't really matter tonight, I don't think, just because of the way that the weather is. Marks inside 50, it's 3 to Richmond, 1 to Port Adelaide. Now, Richmond don't normally play that style of football anyway. It's just alive and get it in and keep it going, whereas Port Adelaide are probably a little bit more reliant upon their marks inside 50 than that. So for that to sort of be in favour, again, it's only one small minor indication. I guess in that quarter, time in possession, it was very heavily Richmond's way up until about halfway, and then it swung late in that part of the second quarter back in favour of Port Adelaide, 35% to 22. So it's just going to be these small little bits, and we know that they're both quality sides. Ken Hinkley called it out very much so about, you got the 4 best sides in the competition here. Conditions aren't conducive to clean, quick football, but you can see both sides are just kicking it off the ground and keeping it alive as much as they can.
And drainage is pretty good here. And
totally.
Having a look at the Bureau of Meteorology imagery, it's starting to I thought I could have left this to you, Jamo.
What? No, go right ahead.
Go
right ahead.
Your prolific description late in that quarter, but no.
I'd rather be bowling.
Yeah, the computer screen is in front of me and it's breaking up. And I think, well, it's all bar stop. Certainly it's the lightest it's been. So hopefully that will lend itself to kind of conditions. And Scotty Camporelli, as the most recent man in a coach's box talking tactics in these conditions, it's a thing that you've got to look at, haven't you? You've had a half of evidence. You know what it's like. And we know that Richmond play that get it long, bang it on style footy. So, I mean, the coaches are thinking, when do we pull the trigger to say, do you keep running in support or do you just get it and go?
Yeah, well, I think it's a balance, especially with the conditions. It'll still be slippery, but I think if the opportunity opens up where both teams can use the ball, I think both teams will be looking at it. They're both highly skilled teams in terms of that aspect, and they've both got really good ball users out of their back half particularly and through their midfield. So I think they'll take their chances when they can if this rain stays away. But the interesting thing, I know you said, Jamo, in terms of that, but Richmond are actually ranked number 1 in the competition for marks inside 50.
Yeah.
So even though we think Richmond are actually this, swarm hack forward, they still do mark the ball inside forward 50. So clearly with Rewald and Lynch down there, they're obviously the 2. But you think about it, Martin, he's up there. You saw he's taken probably the 2 contested marks in there. Lynch dropped one, a sitter down there. And as you say, you said an important point, Jamo. It comes down to moments. The Xavier Dersma moment there, that'll be a pivotal thing. That just, in these tight games, they're the little things that just add up through the game. And, if, God forbid, if that was at the end of the game, we'd be there going, but it's those little things and those little moments where players stand up and be able to deliver. And he's had an outstanding game, Xavier, by his standard, and he's done a terrific job coming off that big hit last week. But those little things that just make a big difference in these big games.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Jamo. It's half-time in the preliminary final at Adelaide Oval, and Port and Richmond can't be split. 3-3-21 apiece at half-time. Also half-time at Lang Park in Brisbane, the first of the NRL preliminary finals. The Melbourne/Sunshine Coast/Southeast Queensland Storm lead the Canberra Raiders 24 points to 6. Melbourne 24, Canberra 6. The winner through to the grand final. Tomorrow's second preliminary final features Penrith and South Sydney. Your input is much welcome here in the Grandstand broadcast box. To join us on the SMS, send us your name and where you are texting from to the number of 0437 774 774. That's 0437 774 774. Locked up at half-time in the preliminary final on this Friday night at Adelaide Oval. We'll be back on ABC Grandstand after the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
With ABC News. 14 plane passengers have been detained in Melbourne after they arrived from New Zealand as part of the Trans-Tasman bubble arrangements. The ABC understands they flew to Sydney and got a connecting flight to Melbourne. ABC has contacted Border Force for comment. Disgraced New South Wales Liberal MP Darryl Maguire has revealed his relationship with the Premier Gladys Berejiklian began 2 years earlier than he previously stated. The Independent Commission Against Corruption has released the information, which was heard at a closed hearing. Ursula Malone reports.
Under questioning, Mr Maguire agreed that the relationship with Miss Berejiklian began in 2013. Later, he clarified that it didn't become a close personal relationship until 2014. On Monday, the Premier told the inquiry that she had a personal attachment to Mr Maguire prior to 2015, but her evidence was that their close personal relationship didn't develop until around the time of the state election in March of that year.
The federal opposition is welcoming news. Police will probe a controversial land deal relating to Western Sydney Airport. Matthew Doran reports from Parliament House.
The Australian Federal Police has confirmed it's looking into potential criminal offences relating to the sale of the so-called Leppington Triangle, a 12-hectare plot of land at Bringelly in Western Sydney. The Commonwealth bought it from the Leppington Pastoral Company for a fraction under $30 million. A year later, a valuation showed it was only worth $3 million. Shadow Infrastructure Minister Catherine King says the police need to get to the bottom of it.
A dirty deal that's been done not so dirt cheap.
The ABC has contacted the Leppington Pastoral Company for comment.
The grandfather of a 17-year-old who died by suicide after years of petrol sniffing has told an inquest of the unimaginable pain of losing a young Yolngu person. Jacqueline Breen reports.
The inquest has heard the girl began sniffing petrol at the age of 12, and the Health, Territory Families and Education departments have all admitted mistakes and failings as they became aware of her growing troubles. On the last full day of evidence today, her grandfather told the court she was a very strong Japu clan member who loved her family and fishing and was fast on the football field. He said her loss hurts deep down. He said his community needs more safe places for women and better engagement by government, and he hopes the inquest will make these deaths stop. The inquiry concludes on Monday.
Victoria's hotel quarantine inquiry is to hold an extraordinary sitting next week. Phil Johnson reports.
The Board of Inquiry into the state's hotel quarantine system says it will hold an extraordinary sitting on Tuesday with details to be announced. It comes after the release of phone records of then Police Chief Commissioner Graham Ashton and the Premier Daniel Andrews. It also follows a submission from former Health Minister Jenny Makakos, which contained an email that has brought into question part of Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton's evidence. Professor Sutton has told the inquiry he did not know private security was being used at the quarantine hotels until he read media reports in May. But the email shows Professor Sutton was made aware of a preference to use private security in late March.
A coroner's report has found a baby in foster care in a remote community in Western Australia's north died of dehydration. The 10-week-old was living in a community near Fitzroy Crossing with his extended family when he developed diarrhoea in July 2015. His foster parents treated him with paracetamol, but he died on the way to hospital. The coroner said it was a terrible irony that the baby was well cared for but still died from a condition that could have been easily treated if the seriousness had been recognised earlier. He recommended more visual resources for people in remote communities to explain the dangers of dehydration in babies. Townsville's mayor has been served with a notice to appear in court over a fatal traffic incident in North Queensland earlier this year. A 33-year-old man died after his motorbike collided with a car driven by Jenny Hill on the 30th of January. Councillor Hill has been accused of driving without care and attention, causing death. She's due to appear in the Townsville Magistrates Court in a fortnight. And the United Nations says peace talks aimed at ending the long-running conflict in Afghanistan are under threat from increased violence. The Special Envoy for Afghanistan says a new wave of fighting could reverse the downward trend in civilian casualties this year. A new Taliban offensive has displaced tens of thousands of people. This is ABC News.
The ABC Grandstand website is live.
A one-stop shop for all your sporting needs from across the country.
Every Tiger runs to it.
NRL, AFL, AFLW,
rugby, cricket, netball,
golf, NBL, tennis, all your sporting codes.
Goes himself and scores!
For in-depth analysis, interviews and coverage of your favourite sports from players, coaches and experts.
pulled in the air, caught it short mid-wicket.
Clip in play.
Bowl! Go to abc.net.au/grandstand.
It's coming.
Bowls reverse sweep, strike on the pad, shout for LBW. Hits it very high in the air, a chance for catch in the deep and it's taken.
Here she comes towards us, takes the catch.
The WBBL.
Comes down the track and hits it for 6.
ABC Grandstand, your home of the WBBL.
Hits it in the air, into the outfield, great catch.
Comes down the wicket, gets a top edge, she'll be out, she is out.
On radio, Grandstand Digital and on the ABC Listen app. The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
Now Rosie working his way through space. Back to Amon. Wines, 60 from goal. Goes inside 50. Lycett, second bite, can't pull it in. Slapped away here. Rockcliffe. It comes back out wide. Butters. They can finish this one off again from Rosie in the pocket. Yes. Superb finish. Back in it comes. Cal Pepper rows it here in defence. Gives it to Rockcliffe. Hurries it beyond defensive. 50, but watchful that time Boston. And a Port Adelaide player flying through Butters. Umpire says play on. Boston kicks on the 45. Inside 50 and finds the chest of Dustin Martin. 35, perhaps 40 out. Dustin Martin lining up for his second. You can't allow players of his calibre to break the game open. And this is snuck in for goal number 2 for Dusty.
The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
All locked up at half-time of the preliminary final between Port Adelaide and Richmond. Lovely to have your company on the national broadcaster. My name is Quentin Hull. Power 3-3, Tigers 3-3. 21s all round at half-time here in the City of Churches. It's nice to have you with us in the NRL. It's Melbourne against Canberra tonight. Also a preliminary final. Second half is just underway and the Storm 24 lead the Raiders 6. To Rod Jamieson and Scott Camporelli's further thoughts in a moment. We'll get through the stats, but loving your text messages. Keep them coming. 0437 774 774. G'day to Jane from Eden Hill in Western Australia. Loving your call of the game, guys, as I drive home from work. Really enjoyed hearing the crowd too. Better than the TV. Yeah, they make some noise here. Great sound through the FX microphones and faders of Super Tech Andrew Williamson. Thank you, Jane. Hello, my name is Daniel. On the way to the City of Churches. Shout out to the Zeitz family up the pair. Good on you, Daniel. Hi, Spriggy and Co. A very hard-fought game in difficult conditions. Go Port from Jenny in Freo. And one of your personal friends, Spriggy?
They feel like friends in WA. Well, because they're all very tight-knit over there. So.
Yeah. G'day to Mike from Kyneton, long-time supporter. Enjoyed the Adelaide calls and comments all years, boys. Thanks for the great work. Sounds very dour tonight, not just because of the rain. Won't be surprised if Port slowly grind the Tigers out of it. But top teams, any one game, indeed, Mike. And hi to Tom Carmichael, who's harvesting beans in Boomai, far north New South Wales. Can I get a shout out to the Demon who's harvesting alongside me? Loving the coverage. G'day, Demon, from Tom, 0437 774 774. The news from tomorrow night, just before we assess things further here, only one change to both Brisbane and Geelong's teams. The Cats going in unchanged from their thumping victory over Collingwood, while for Brisbane, the youngster Kadeen Coleman misses out. Dropped at selection for Cam Ellis-Shulman, the only change for Brisbane's team that beat Richmond in week 1 of the finals. Both teams have re-emerged, 21 apiece. Brett Sprigg to run you through the stats to half-time.
Overall disposals, plus 36 the way of Port. The contested ball count is 78-64 the way of the Power. Inside 50, Stars Far plus 10, 32 plays 22. Having a look further along as well. Marks inside 50, 3-1 Richmond's way. Been a slippery pill all night so far here in Adelaide. Tackles Richmond's way, 31-28. A few individuals here. Ollie Wines has 14 touches, 9 kicks and 5 hand passes at 44% kicking efficiency. Robbie Gray, 13 touches for him. Xavier Duursma, 12. He's 7-5. Brad Ebert, 9 and 3, so 12 disposals all up for him. Amon 11, Rockcliffe 11. Meanwhile for the Tigers, Trent Cotchin 10 touches for him, the Richmond skipper, and he's 250th. 7 kicks, 3 hand passes for him. Basher Hooley 9, Dustin Martin 9 to go with his 2 goals. Shea Bolton also with 9. What a good final series and a good season he's had so far. 2 inside 50s to go with that for Shea Bolton. Nick Boston, Dion Prestia, Kane Lambert, Jack Graham, all on 8 touches and a half of footy here at Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide 3-3-21, Richmond 3-3-21. Scott Camporelli, Rod Jamieson rejoined us here on Grandstand AFL. What happens from here?
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting because both teams are playing a similar style, particularly with that surge. I just think, Jamo, in this, particularly this third quarter, it's dried up a little bit. There's still a little bit of sprinkle of rain. I just think if Port can just use that ball a little bit better going forward, I just think they're on top in too many of the categories at the moment to let the damn wall break. I know we talk about Richmond being efficient and those sort of things, but in preliminary finals, sometimes the weighting just goes your way, and particularly in these conditions. Wet, slippery, tough, contested conditions. It suits Port more than Richmond, I think, at this point in time. But as we just said, they are efficient when they go forward, and they have got goal kickers ahead of the ball. So it's going to be a cracking third quarter.
32-22 inside 50s. Best defence last year, second best this year, Richmond. So Port Adelaide are going to have to be seriously good to get it through and widen that gap, and they haven't been able to do that tonight. So we know how miserly Richmond are, but to the
Port are the number one defensive team.
Well, there's 1 and 2, and you talk about that. There's there's 5 points, across the entire year that separates these two teams. So not taking anything away from the way that Port Adelaide defend for sure, but I just think in terms of the ability to be able to crack the wall or break the dam and just get through and get it on the board, I still feel the efficiency of Richmond at the moment, for me, has just got their nose ahead.
Scott Camporelli and Rod Jamison's thoughts. Half-time, we are where we started, with nothing between them on the scoreboard, 3-3-21 apiece. And the good news is that what was a very heavy downpour of rain is now just a light and persistent shower at the start of this third quarter. 0437 774 774 is the SMS number. Great call tonight, lads. Sitting on the tractor, baling my 8-tonne oat crop in Corrigan in WA.
In the wheat belt, beautiful.
Fantastic.
It's 1:30 in the afternoon over there, isn't it, at the moment?
Don't even make me try and do time adjustments. Coming to Adelaide from Queensland in summertime, it just doesn't work for me. I know it's pretty simple, but
6 o'clock, Spriggy, 2.5 hours, is it?
That'll be it.
Yeah.
Ask the West Australian.
Even now, I'm stuck, though. No idea.
I'll tell you what time it is, Spriggy. Time for the second half. Let's get the third term underway here, 3-3-21 apiece.
Scott Lysett knows his WA time zones. West Coast Premiership players up against Nankervis. Nankervis wins a hit out here. Dustin Martin goes off the ground. It missed Burn Jones. Slides off his boot as well. Rioli balks one way, comes back to the left-hand side, loads up inside forward 50. Revolt outnumbered in the aerial contests. Edwards slaps it back in play, and Hartlett's kick smothered off Rioli, out of bounds on the full. So it came off Rioli's lower part of his ankle and out over the boundary line. So a Port Adelaide ball, or so we think. Umpires are conferring here.
Discussion between 3 umpires.
Yep, it'll be Hartlett have it at the junction of 50, defensive end for Port Adelaide.
Original call stands. So the tattooed number 8, Hamish Hartlett, from right half back for Port Adelaide, kicks to the members' wing. It pitches in front of the pack, skimmies to the edge of the centre square. Vlosten kicked it off the deck into the chest of Bolter. Kicks quickly to half forward for Richmond, gathered by Lynch. Hand pass to Bolton, 40 out, tough angle, right boot is across the face through the fingers of Revolt, and through for a point. Jack had a clean play at that on a slippery night. Couldn't handle it, but it puts Richmond in front, 3-4 to 3-3.
Every point at a premium here in these challenging, combative, slippery conditions. As Houston goes long beyond offensive 50 here up the pipe. It's marked by Bolter and a Richmond jumper.
He's had the better of Charlie Dixon tonight.
All the players on the ground inside the attacking half here for the Tigers. Bolter sends them inside. 50, Lynch crashes the pack and pulls in the grab. 25 out directly in front, Tom Lynch. A chance to find his way early in the second half.
I think it was only going to be a matter of time, wasn't it, too? He's been presenting himself all night. He's been up against 2 or 3. Was certainly wetter in the first half than what, with the rain still coming down, but I can guarantee you it's not the umpires, the crowd's booing.
Last week, Tom Lynch, aside from his incident with Dougal Howard, 2 goals, 5, and out of bounds on the full. He's lining up here for his first the preliminary final. And he just sneaks it in. The goal umpire had to work to the left. But Tom Lynch has the first major of the second half. Richmond 4-4-28. Port Adelaide 3-3-21. His third term is 2.5 minutes old here on ABC Grandstand AFL.
4-1, Campo. 4-1 now.
Yeah, well, that's why they make you pay as well, because they win contests, crucial contests. So, Jamo, you mentioned Dixon and Bolter here. Bolter wins a one-on-one contest here. He pumps it straight back into D50, and I'm not sure whether Cleary would be overly happy with that positioning on Tom Lynch. He just allows a guy who's 200 centimetres to run and jump at the ball. He needed to take him offline, do some body work. He had support. It was a slow play, and then get some other defenders around. Houston tried, but when you're that tall and you let that key forward run and jump at an aerial ball, often than not, they're going to mark it.
He is the pantomime villain, so it seems, Tom Lynch. But what a key forwards lead, mark and finish to give the Tigers a 7-point advantage. Centre bounce. Lycett with the tap for Port down to Gray. He's tackled, hand pass turned over. Umpire's whistle sounded. Now, what's the infringement?
I think Robbie Gray holding the ball.
Holding the ball.
Incorrect disposal.
Okay. So it's going to be Toby Nankervis's free kick for Richmond in the centre of the ground. And now the Power fans realise that. A little unhappy. Nankervis's chip actually came off the fingers of the man on the mark. Hooley picks up, tackled by Boat. Ball skims back towards the bullseye. Umpire watches, waits, sticks and emerges for the Power. His hand pass is thumped forward though by Bolter of Richmond. Picked up by Edwards. Kick to attacking 50. Bolton marks again for Richmond. 55 out. Kicks to the pocket. Lynch again. Read the drop. Can't take the mark, and it slews through his fingers for a point. Tigers by 8 points at 4-5-29 to 3-3-21. Aaron Bryant's on the boundary.
Quinton Moen Pickett went down with the doctor to the rooms very quickly for a brief minute. May have even been a toilet break, because he's emerged and doesn't look in any pain at all and should be back on the field very shortly.
Shea Bolton having a good night too, Spriggy.
Yep.
11 disposals.
It's a great final series. My early pick for the Gary Ayres medal if they go deep for next week. Shea Bolton. Contest here on the members' wing. The umpire says give it to me.
Just find space. When Richmond do win a clearance, he's normally one of the go-to.
Richmond by 7 points. Umpire wastes no time. Again, Lycett and Nankervis tangled up. Slapped out the back. Pal Pepper. Graham got in there first. Pulled off the kick. Ball jars free. Again, they pile in from all angles. Lycett standing up. Can't quite get it away. Reaching in again Players from both sides waiting for a disposal. It comes out wide this time from Graham. Bursting up the line now. Rioli back to Hooley. Kicks in space. Awkward pick up for Burn-Jones. Pal Pepper comes by here for Port. Back to Burn-Jones. Hurries the ball. Oh, it's through the fingertips of Dixon. Knocked back here by Noah Bolter. They slide in right up against the boundary line. The umpire spotted a free kick. Player taken high. Port Adelaide free kick. Dersma right in front of the benches.
Does not mind putting his body in the line of fire. Again there. Taking high contact from Bolter. Dersma kicks Port to attacking 50 in a pack. Bolter fists the pack at the front for Richmond. Wines kicks it off the deck from near the boundary. Broad has a fumble. Pal Pepper kicks up. Rush kick inside 50. Boundary umpire says out on the full. And field umpire overrules him along with 15,000 Port fans in that vicinity to say, yeah, off the cans. Touch ball, throw in.
I don't mind. The umpire central one is 30, 40 metres away, calls it behind the kick, and the boundary umpire's 5 metres away. And it doesn't go his way.
Throwing on attacking, 50 for Port. It's Richmond leading by 8 points. Lycett with the tap. Where's his rover? Well, it pings back in the air. Pal Pepper has a go, shunted off it by Lambert. Dived on by Graham. He's pulled off the ball by Wines. Picked up by Jonas of Port from 70. Hooks it to the goal mouth, and Motlop had 2 big bites. Couldn't complete the mark, falling to ground. Rosie picks up for Port. Hands through Rockcliffe. He dropped it under pressure. Houston arrives. He's tackled by Baker. And the umpire says no prior and a ball up. 40 from Port Skull. 4-4 place, 3-3. Richmond in front by 8 points. 4.
And Curvis slapped it down here. Broad sockers it clear now. Beyond defensive 50. Ball out in open space. Coming in at left. Right half forward, rather, Dersman was dumped that time by Rioli. Pickett goes in to gather the football as well. Broad some support. Ebert tries to collect, but it's not coming clear. And Graham is helped out over the boundary line.
Trust the manual scoreboard, not the electric one. The electric one's got Richmond at 4-4. I can tell you it is 4-5 to the Tigers. 3-3. See, go with history and tradition.
There we go.
Spriggy, the manual one's got it right. The electric one's robbed the Tigers of a point.
I almost jumped in to correct you as well, so I'm glad I didn't. Lycett.
I'll correct myself.
Slaps it down to the boundary line, and it will be thrown back into play once again. So, yes, right, Q, 4-5. Richmond Tigers, Port Adelaide 3-3. Margin 8. We've played 7.5 minutes in this third term.
Be a quiet night in the old scoreboard tonight.
Ball thrown in, right half forward for Port. It pitches before the ruckman have a go at it. Prestia picks up the thump, kicks Richmond to the middle of the ground in a pack. Revolt tries to pick up, toes it off the ground or around the edge of the centre square. Picked up by Jonas, high contact, Castagna, no. Martin toes it inside 50 for Richmond, but the only man there is Cleary for Port. Picks up and hand passes to Dersma. Rides the tackle of Castagna, holding the ball, he lost it on contact. Free kick to Jason Castagna. 60 out at left, half forward for Richmond. Puts the quick entry to the corridor. Bolton at the front for the Tigers. Lynch at the back does the roving. Hand pass to the goal mouth. Hartlett first there to save the day for Port. Hands to Amon on the power out of trouble.
Looks for options on the 45. Comes beyond defensive 50. Rosie was nudged under at that time by Baker. And the free kick will not be forthcoming. We'll throw it back in. On the eastern wing. Closer towards the half forward line here for Richmond. Byron Pickett. It's a very loud round of applause from the local fans here. The Norm Smith medalist from some years ago. And we'll present, I think, this year's recipient Q as Rosie slides in, takes the mark on the outer wing.
Interesting if it's Brisbane and Port next week and Byron Pickett's presenting the Norm.
Marshall goes up, wins at the ground here. Motlop escapes Grimes, needs some support by a hand. Marshall slaps it out into space. Met at pace that time by the Richmond defence. It comes to Castagna, turns it back towards the members' wing, bounced near the logo. Cleary soccers it back here, losing it Dersma. Ball bubbles back now. Now it's Houston who's been dispossessed and holding the ball. Tackler rewarded. It comes wide from Graham to Pickett for the Tigers.
Marks and hand passes to short. True halfway members side. Kick towards attacking 50. Jonas gets a spoil on it for Port. McKenzie has a go. Hassled by Revolt, but it's Port's ball. Through Rockcliffe to McKenzie. Through Ebert by hand. Gives it to Lycett. His kick across half-back. Picked up by Amon on defensive 50. Grubbers it towards the wing. Space for Pal Pepper. Hand pass to Lycett. Runs past a tackler. To the logo and deep. looking for Dixon. One grab, couldn't take the mark. Arriving Rosie in the pocket. Tackle without the football, says the crowd. Umpire disagrees. Ball stays in the field of play. Bolter tries to clear it. His toe poke picked up by McIntosh. Got it to Graham. They are beseeching here in Adelaide and they get that one. Holding the ball against Graham. Free kick goes to Motlop. Left half forward, 55 out. And not even his skill, you'd think, could kick the goal from here. He's found a free man. Lysett drops into the hole just beyond the man on the mark and takes a grab. 15 metres closer to goal. Man on the mark, 40 out. Tough angle left, half forward.
And Curvis in the square.
It was good composure, wasn't it? I mean, it was great, and it was great pressure by Port. It wasn't a free kick to Rosie. He's allowed to tackle yet, but they just kept at it, and turned another ball into a forward 50 entry.
He's only kicked the one goal, Spriggy, this year, Scott Lysett.
Well, this would set the decibels to their maximum of 27,000 here. Wet night, tough angle. The ruckman Lysett from 48 on his right boot. Good strike, he's done it! Two points the difference. Richmond 4-5, Port Adelaide 4-3, and Scott Lysett, the Premiership Eagle, with just his second goal of the year, and what a time to deliver it, Scott Camporelli.
Yeah, it was a great finish, wasn't it? But I love the fact that Motlop just lowered his eyes. You know that Richmond want to fold back and own territory, and they probably thought he was going to have a shot on goal. Smart by Lysett just to pop up into a bit of space, and really good composure by Motlop. And that's what the good players do. He hasn't had a big night. He's had 7 possessions, Motlop, but he doesn't always have to hit the scoreboard. If he can keep the pressure on and just use his skills inside forward 50, that'll go a long way to Port winning the game.
Scott Lysett knows where the goals is, Q, but he doesn't know where his grand final medal is.
Well, of little concern to power fans at the moment, Jamo. It is a nice little anecdote. But what a finish from a big man on a wet night, from anyone on a wet night. Real team lifter.
Back in the middle they go. Asprey against Laddams. Power win the clearance. Up inside 50 it goes. Marshall beaten by Broad this time. Or Rosie cops some high contact. Play on, says the umpire. Pickett comes up with it. He's dispossessed. Baker hacks it out of the air. Only as far as Hartlett. Pushed back here towards Dersma. From right half forward going inside forward 50. Dixon reaching for it. Taps it down towards Butters. Butters waits on the outside. From the impossible angle. Straightens up but not enough. Right up against the boundary line, deep in the right forward pocket. He puts it across the face for a minor score. Good attempt though. 4-4-28 to Power. They trail by 1. Richmond 4-5-29. 13 gone, third term. And the energy inside Adelaide Oval is lifting. Short runs from the goal mouth to the pocket. Long inbound for Richmond to right half back. Lynch slipped over. Cleary thumps it out of play. Boundary throw in, still in Port's attacking half.
39 inside 50s to 29. We talk about being efficient, and that's right, Jamo, but at some stage in these games, the damn wall breaks. You can't continually keep asking your defenders to defend that many inside 50s.
Throw in, it beats both Asprey and Laddams. Wines came in to thump it forward, but only to McIntosh. His hand pass slewed out of his knuckles, straight to Boak. Left half forward, 60 out, kicks Port to the pocket. Bolter and Grimes slowing almost simultaneously to see the ball out of play. The two Tigers combining to find the safety of the line in the right back pocket. And listen to the fans in Adelaide. It's Richmond by a point mid-third term.
Oh, it's 5 or 6 minutes. It's been all there, Port Adelaide.
Umpire chucks it back in. Dixon and Asprey slapped out the back. Graham had a path cleared for him. Socket outside here. Burne-Jones put down in the Lambert tackle. Comes loose here. Castagna to Prestia. Up against the boundary line. Free kick coming back here for the contact on Short off the play. So Amon gives away the free kick. Jaden Short comes long up the outer side of Adelaide Oval in towards that 2-on-1. Lynch outnumbered this occasion. Hartlett gathers a loose football on defence. Comes out wide. Wines. Ebert slips over, losing the football. Pressure came from Castagna. Comes back to Wines. Standing start up the line again at Miss Gray. Out the back. Asprey reaching for it. Free kick again, this time going Richmond's way.
It's for Gray with his little nudge on Hurley. So it's the bearded basher at right half back for Richmond. Kicking along that outer wing. Huge fly, Laddams. Got a hand, can't mark the slippery pill. Ground level, Hartlett plays tackler on Lambert. Spills out to Wines. Toe poke clears the congestion. Aim on then. Kicks it 30 metres further upfield. De Grey in the pocket. Tries to do the in and away on Short, who makes a fine tackle. Sees Robbie out of play. Throw in true centre wing. Richmond 4-5-29. Port Adelaide 4-4-28. 15 minutes elapsed of this third quarter. Preliminary final football on the national broadcaster. This is the ABC with Quentin Hull, Brett Sprigg, Rod Jamieson and Scott Camporelli.
Back in it comes. Asprey beats Laddams. McIntosh roved it beautifully. Hurries it high up in the air. Ebert back with a flight. Takes a chest mark for Port Adelaide. Just forward of left half back. Can slow things down for a second. Tigers by a point. Coming back inside defensive 50 here for Port. It's marked by Cleary for the most defensive player on the ground. McKenzie jots into space and marks here at right half back. Closer towards goal, Cathedral End. Does the work to come beyond his defensive half. Outnumbered on this occasion, Jonas, the skipper, and ran out of play this time by Broad. We'll throw it back in right near Port's bench. It's the Richmond Tigers, 4-5-29. Port Adelaide, 4-4-28. 16 gone third term grandstand AFL.
Will we see a moment where this breaks? Or are we in for a knee knocker? A nail biter all the way to the finish. Thrown on the wing. Laddams to the front of Nankervis wins the tap. Bolton, though, there for Richmond, who's had a fine game. Can't create on this occasion as Jonas sees his tap out of play. 150th year for Port Adelaide. Richmond looking to make a third grand final in 4 years. Minor Premier v reigning Premier. 1 point the difference. Throw in left half forward for the Tigers. From behind, Laddams got the tap at Richmond's Rove. Martin hand pass to Prestia. 60 out, kick to full forward. Hartlett, Cleary read the pack, spoils away from Castagna. Lynch is tackled, dispossessed, holding the ball for call.
That's a great tackle.
Jonas, the captain in the time of need, arrived and clutched onto Lynch as if his life depended on it.
And it did.
To win the free kick with the power.
When your skipper's doing that, great example.
Jonas, again beyond defensive 50 out towards the convergence of players on the wing. Pickett bursts through traffic, knocks it out to himself. Now hurries a high ball up towards the opponent 50 here, attacking in for the Tigers. Revolt reaching for it, can't pull it in. Bolton reads it well off the pack. Hand pass out wide. Martin beaten to it by his own teammate Rioli. Hand pass back to Prestia. Assesses the options, straightens up, comes inboard, and it's been marked. Not paid to Castagna. No.
Gee.
And it's been knocked away towards the boundary line. We'll throw it back in right alongside the right behind post in front of the scoreboard. Did Castagna have enough of that? My thought is yes. There was interference very, very late. Forward 50 stoppage here for the Tigers, Q.
It slipped off his chest and his pecs just as the ump was about to pay it. And he didn't pay it as a consequence. Throw in, Burne-Jones wrapped up by the Lynch tackle, and we'll see it done again. Yep, just getting the replay, it was like once, twice, thrice was controlled up near the shoulders and his chest, and then it slipped down instead of being controlled in the chest, and that's why the ump said no mark.
Harsh critic.
Ball thrown in the air, right forward pocket for Richmond. Free kicks going Port Adelaide's way. Boak was legged at that contest. So Travis Boak. He's going to kick from the left back pocket beyond defensive 50 for Port. Dixon could have marked, but just taps it onto the middle of the ground, hoping for Rosie. He crashes into Vlosten, ricochet to Butters, hands it to Rosie from the bullseye. Kicks Port wide to half forward for Motlop. Marks 70 out. He's got Gray running hard, attacking 50. Doesn't take that option. He comes infield on the kick. Marked by Rockcliffe, 65 out, near centre half forward. Chip pass inside 50, just the 15. Rosie marks, he plays on, chips it closer to goal, and who else would you want with it? Travis Boak marks, 40 out directly in front.
That's clip. Ken Hinkley should show Port Adelaide at three-quarter time. That's exactly what Richmond do. They spread really hard from the open side to get back and outnumber, and it was the composure of Rockcliffe just being able to lower his eyes and just knock one 15, 20 metres, which allowed all the Richmond defenders dropped off. But terrific contest by Rosie in the middle of the ground. That's the bit that turned the ball over.
Is this the move for Port? Boak from 50 straight in front to put them in front. Oh, he's misses it badly to the right. He's missed everything. Bar the padding of the point post, so that's out of bounds on the full and no score.
8-8 this season, Hugh.
And that doesn't count the misses. Free kick to Richmond in the left back pocket. Tigers still by a point.
Asprey thumps it long. Pickett goes up in front. Spell comes from behind and knock it out of play. Another forward 50 stoppage here for the Power.
It's another moment, another critical miss.
We're moving into very late territory in this third quarter. Back in it comes. Lycett to the front, beats Nankervis, slaps it down towards Pickett. Richmond clearance, comes from left half back, to spirals it back towards the boundary line where it goes end over end and eventually slides out over it for a throw-in.
In the event, Spriggy scores a level at the end. What do?
We go to extra time.
Which is?
Detailed on the email that Andrea Williamson gave me about extra time in finals, which I didn't write down.
Oh, I'm sorry to do that.
That's okay. Andrea's here. She can tell me. Throw in on the wing. I think it's 6 minutes each way or something like that. Yeah. In this shortened season as well. It's generally 10, but it's shorter.
Yeah.
Again, on the wing, Graham for Richmond. Kicks inside 50. Rioli has it spoiled away by McKenzie. Kicked off the ground from Motlop. Rosie's got space in the middle of the ground. Gathers on the outer side. Kicks to a vacant half-forward line. Set a task of Laddens, who got tackled off the ball without it. Gray picks it up. Hand pass to Burton. Dribbler from 30 is nowhere near the goals. It's out of bounds in the pocket. Missed the point post by 10 metres. Throw in. Right forward pocket for Port Adelaide.
They got away with one, Richmond. Robbie Gray, after he handballed the ball, got tackled by Jaden Short and dragged. Or was it Ross?
Tigers by one. In it comes. Nankervis to the front. Hooley in defence. Slaps it clear, or does he? Baker was taken high by Laddams, and the free kick is picked out accordingly. Yeah. A little tenuous. But Baker comes long beyond defensive 50. Rebound up in front of Lycett. At the drop. Kick was smothered going inside 50. Hooley can ricochet the football away now. Just thumps it back towards the logo. Burn-Jones in space for the Power. Jonas gets the hand pass out wide. Ebert sends it back up the line towards a 2-on-1. Laddams crashing in late. Can't pull in the grab. Asprey gathers. That was clean. Comes wide to Hooley from left half back. Can he make use of this? Basher. Now it's up and marked by Revolt. No. Goes in low. Gets some high contact. Ball still live here. Dersman's hand pass going towards the boundary line, and that will be thrown back in. Revolt's okay, getting up slowly. Did also see a couple of replays, and now that was from Butters, that contact on Revolt. Rosie also got Vlosten high a short time ago. There's been a few replays of that being thrown around, but you'd think no players are going to miss weeks this week of all weeks.
Nankervis, clean possession from the throw-in on the wing. Late third quarter, Richmond by a point. Shunted towards half-forward for the Tigers. Vacant geography, it rolls out of play. Who had the last touch? A Richmond player, and the ump says that's deliberate against Prestia. Well, free kick here to be taken by Jonas. I knew there were sixes in this final scenario with a draw. 6-minute break and then 2 by 3 minute halves. So there you go. Question answered, Rod Jamieson, and all wondering. Kick from Jonas to the wing, out the back, gathered by Laddams. Hand pass went through the hands of Wines, who then played tackle on Asprey, who didn't have the ball. Free kick to David Asprey, holding the man.
Well, it's not inconceivable, is it, the way that and how tight the game is?
Tigers by a point. Asprey thumps it high towards left half forward. Revolt up in front. Again, can't pull down the grab. Martin dispossessed. Cochin bursting by. Amon gets to it too, but again, can't get a clean possession away. Ends up with Baker. 52 out. Goes inside forward 50. Bolton in space, but Bolter floats across. Shea Bolton was waiting for it, but Noah Bolter let out from full forward and will take a set shot from 35 out, an angle slightly better than 45 degrees to the right.
Well, Bolter's gone forward on the basis that Lynch has gone off the ground. The other one too, Jamo, I'm interested. I've been watching Ryan Burton's a deep forward. He's been there for the last probably 5 or 6 minutes.
Noah Bolter on the approach. Sorry, Campo. Sets it on its way, and it's missing to the left-hand side. Tigers by 2 points late in the third term, as you were.
Yeah, sorry, Spriggy. And it looks like his right thigh is heavily strapped. Not sure whether there's anything in that or not.
Three-quarter time is imminent. Cleary kicks in to a pack with Powell, Pepper and Dersmer among it. Neither could mark. Cochin arrives for Richmond, tackled, gets his boot to it. Up and down around the pack, picked up by Wines of Port. Hand pass to Gray at right half back. Kick to the wing. No one really there for Port. Motlop's a mile away as Vlosten picks up for the Tigers. Tumbles a punt back to left half forward for Richmond, but Dersma there to take the mark. Time's going to beat him. We will be at three-quarter time, and it is Richmond in front by 2 points. We've gone from a 2-point Port advantage at quarter time to scores level at half time to a 2-point Richmond advantage at three-quarter time. It is 4-6-30 to 4-4-28. This low-scoring, wet, tight tussle to earn a ticket to the Gabba next Saturday night to play in the 2020 AFL decider. Richmond kicking 1-3 to Port Adelaide's 1-1 in the third quarter. Dustin Martin has 2 goals for Richmond, Revolt and Lynch the others. For Port, Connor Rosie has 2 with Dersma and Lysett kicking goals as well. 4-6 plays 4-4. It's Richmond in front by 2 points at three-quarter time. To get in touch with us, we'd love to hear from you on the SMS 0467 920 0437 774 774. That's what happens, Spriggy, when you and I do cricket and footy all at this time of year. Yep. But tonight, the footy line is 0437 774 774. In the National Rugby League preliminary final looks all but done at Lang Park in Brisbane. The Storm lead the Raiders. Melbourne lead Canberra 30 points to 6. 70 minutes into the game there. So Melbourne destined to head to Sydney next week to take on the winner of Penrith and South Sydney. Storm 30, Raiders 6. 10 minutes to go in the NRL preliminary final. 2 points to the Tigers. Three-quarter time here. You don't want to go anywhere. The last term of Prelim 1 coming up shortly on Grandstand AFL.
Looking for a way to keep the kids busy these school holidays?
Well, open their ears to the world with the ABC Listen app.
And podcasts like Short and Curly to expand their learning.
Or Noisy by Nature and Soundwalks to help make their world feel like a bigger place.
Take your teenagers on an adventure full of mystery with McElroy Uncovered.
And learn all about the girls who dare to do things differently on Fierce Girls.
Open their ears to the world.
Download the ABC Listen app today.
The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
Houston goes long beyond offensive 50 here up the pipe. It's marked by Bolter and a Richmond jumper. All the players on the ground inside the attacking half here for the Tigers. Bolter sends them inside 50. Lynch crashes the tack and pulls in the grab. 25 out directly in front. Tom Lynch is lining up here for his first the preliminary final. And he just sneaks it in.
McIntosh got it to Graham. They are beseeching here in Adelaide and they get that one. Holding the ball against Graham. Free kick goes to Motlop, left half forward, 55 out. And not even his skill, you'd think, could kick the goal from here. He's found a free man. Lysett drops into the hole just beyond the man on the mark and takes a grab. Wet night, tough angle. The ruckman Lysett from 48 on his right boot. Good strike, he's done it!
The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
Three-quarter time. Place in the grand final up for grabs. We've had 8 goals all night. It continues to rain. It's a slippery night. It's the reigning premier by 2 points over the minor premier. Richmond 4-6-30. Port Adelaide 4-4-28. Before our experts, good luck them trying to work out what happens next. News from Aaron Bryans on the boundary. Aaron?
Quinton, just a quick update on Ryan Burton, who did spend the majority of that third term starting out of the goal square as a forward. He did actually chat with the forwards group in the three-quarter time huddle as well. The strapping on his right leg or upper right leg is largely due to the quad injury that he's had throughout the majority of this year. So he started the game with that strapping. Whether or not he's re-aggravated that injury or if there's another issue, we'll wait to be seen. But he's certainly out of position to start this fourth quarter.
Aaron, just a quick one too. Jaden Short looks like he's injured, and here with the stats in front of us, so might keep an eye on him, or if you can see him out there.
He's certainly out there with the group at the moment and doesn't seem to be in any pain at all, but I'll keep in touch to see how he's looking when he heads off the ground to start this final term.
Damien Hardwick and Ken Hinkley delivering their messages. What would be the thoughts here? Rod Jamieson, Scott Camporelli, wet night and the collective press. Wet night and a moment of individual brilliance. A sprinkle of both. What will it be? What are we going to see in this final term?
It will be, sorry, Joe, it will be exactly that. It'll be really tight, but there'll be a couple of moments that'll just turn it on its head. And normally you go to the best players. Will it be Dustin Martin? Just play him a bit deeper, give him the forward 50. Does Dimmer do that and just hope that he can just turn some magic on and really put Port's defenders under pressure? Or is it down the other end? Charlie Dixon hasn't had a big night. Does he just come to fruition and take a big contested mark just to turn the game on its head? I'm not sure. This game's in the balance. You know, once again, that third quarter, you couldn't split the teams. It was really even, contested ball. What I did like, though, and I mentioned it just at half-time around Port's structure, they lost clearance 5-12. They were up by 10 at half-time. But what they did do is even up the game ahead of the ball, which meant that Vlosten and these guys weren't able to generate any ball out of the back half. It was an even number contest. I like that decision from Ken Hinkley. This is going to go to the wire.
The applause is for the Power as they break from their huddle. Damien Hardwick still addressing the Richmond Tigers, Rod Jamieson.
Yeah, look, it's going to come down to effort and energy, isn't it, too? Just precise disposal, precise thinking. Port Adelaide are the #1 tackling team in the competition. Tonight's game to three-quarter time, Richmond 53, Port Adelaide 41. It's one indication of effort, but they are getting to Port Adelaide and putting enormous pressure on them. But they use the football. They keep using the football.
Individuals. Sorry, Jamo.
No, go, Spriggy.
Individuals to the final changes quickly. Ollie Wines, 21 touches, 14 and 7. Ebert, 17. Gray, Rockcliffe, Boak, all with 15. For the Tigers, Dustin Martin has 2 goals and 15 possessions. Hooley, 13. Prestia, Graham, Bolton, each with 12.
Must Dustin Martin into the middle now too.
Well, he'll start there and he'll spit forward, but
Yeah.
I'd love Dimmer just to give him the forward 50 and just let him go to work. I'd be really interested in the matchup whether McKenzie's the one deep, one out. I reckon that's a great matchup for Richmond.
Marshall deep in the forward line for Port with Grimes on him. Dixon on Bolter. Mid-attacking 50. It's Revolt going deep with McKenzie on him. Lynch has got Cleary. And in the middle, Lycett and Nankervis to do battle for the Tigers. Martin, Cochin and Prestia underneath. For the Power, it's Wines, Gray and Rockcliffe. 16 minutes plus time on will decide it. Richmond start the final quarter with a 2-point advantage. Port looking to get to the granny in their 150th year. The Tigers looking to make it 3 out of 4 years. Fighting for the cup. Don't go anywhere. It may be wet, it may be tough, but the theatre of it all is about to reach its climax here on Grandstand AFL. Umpires ready, players are ready. Let's do it, Brett Sprigg.
An enthralling final term coming up. Lycett v Nankervis. Ball in the air. Nankervis goes up first. Down to Prestia. Clean kick. Gets the clearance. Down towards right half forward. Sits up on the bounce for Bolton. Tries to get away from Dersma. He's dispossessed. Wrapped up. Goes to the boundary line with a hand pass. And that will be holding the ball. A very late call at that.
Deliberate out of bounds as it turned out.
Well, I reckon he just regretted not pinging him for holding the ball. No way, it's the same result. Left half back here for Port Adelaide. Rockcliffe sends them forward. Lambert bursts through traffic as well. Boak was put down. Tigers with numbers around the football. Hand pass comes to Martin. Front edge of the square. Goes inside forward 50. Leads up Lynch. Lynch takes the mark. 45 out directly in front.
That's the second time he's done that tonight too. Cleary sits behind. Lynch doesn't expect the short kick, go forward. Gets caught behind. Had a bit more pressure on that occasion.
Valuable momentum. Either side of three-quarter time. Can Tom Lynch push the Tigers further ahead to start this final term? Connects from 52 towards the river end. It's on its way and it's offline to the left-hand side. Minus score. Tigers 4-7-31. Port Adelaide 4-4-28. Margin is half a goal. Early stages, quarter number 4 here on Grandstand AFL.
Houston runs out of the goal mouth for Port, kicks them to right half back. More centre of the ground, in fact. Dixon got a push in that free kick. Play on as picked up by Butters of Port in the middle of the ground. Hand pass to Dersma. Runs the logo. Kicks inside. 50, a fly. A leap. Rosie can't mark. Hits the net. Goes after it. Got tackled and lost it. Cleared by the defensive boot of Short for Richmond. It goes out of play. Was that deliberate? Yes. Free kick to Port Adelaide. And Rockcliffe is there again.
See a bit stiff just by the way the ball bounced. He went up the line.
Rockcliffe thumps it long towards the left forward pocket. Floating up. Dixon on the second bite. Pulls in the grab. He is almost exactly 50 metres out. That's where he'll kick from on the 45-degree angle.
Campo.
That's what he needs. And this is his distance too. So he can actually wind up, loosen up, and normally he kicks him from here.
This is the moment.
I think he surprised himself in the end how easy that mark was.
Just the one goal for Dixon in the quali. We're right behind him as he kicks from 52. Brings it back and rides it home. The power in front. Port Adelaide 5-4-34. Richmond 4-7-31. Still early stages. 2.5 minutes gone. Final term. ABC Grandstand AFL.
Go to your best players. Go to your match winners. That's why teams are in this stage of the year, because their good players stand up. Dixon's had a wonderful year, no doubt about that. He hasn't had a great night. Bolter's done a very, very good job on him. But give the big fella a chance. Kick the ball into him. Let him compete. He's never going to get outmarked. And that brings the smalls into play. What a kick.
Kid from North Queensland given his chance due to a start-up club on the Gold Coast. And here he is with one of the oldest clubs in the land. With a massive moment in this season, Charlie Dixon. He flexed the guns, the bearded wonder from the north. What a kick. Port by 3 points.
Wonderful to what I would have thought to have Tom Lynch and Charlie Dixon in the same side, hey?
They were for a while, and now they're playing against each other. Centre bounce. Martin with the row for Richmond. Kicks wide to the half-forward flank. McIntosh marks it for the Tigers. He's too far out to score. 65 from goal. Plays on. Drives a right boot towards full forward. 2-on-2 in the goal mouth. Revolt at the back. Had a touch, can't mark. Houston roves his hand past to Hartlett, taken high. Free kick, Port Adelaide. Hamish Hartlett did then concede with his handball, but the score won't count. Free kick to Port. They lead by 3 points.
Hartlett, 4 wins from 7 games in finals. Comes long beyond offensive. 50. Martin keeps it in play. Gray swoops through here for the power, and he's helped out of bounds by McIntosh, and change as well. Bit of afters and some push and shove. Plenty of feeling out there, as you can imagine. One of these sides going through to a grand final. For the other, it's season over, and it's 3 points. Port lead the Tigers. Early stages, 4th term.
Throw an attacking 50 for Richmond. We're attacking the River Torrens end in this final quarter. And Curvis knuckles it towards the boundary. Prestia has a fumble. Once, twice, can't keep it in. Bundled out of play by Houston. Throw it in again.
I know it's easy to say. It just had to be clean. Had to be clean.
So right on the junction of 50. Umpire tosses it back in. And Lycett tried to go out of the right. Bobbles out towards Cochin. The Richmond skipper turns it towards goal. Lynch did the attacking spoil. It sits up for Hartlett that ran out of space. So he'll throw it back in, closer to goal in the right forward pocket.
Melbourne Storm are through to the NRL Grand Final. They've defeated the Canberra Raiders 30 points to 10.
Port Adelaide by 3 points here. They'll throw it back in, River Torrens end. Deep in attack here for the Tigers. Lynch v Lycett. Martin burst through. Couldn't get boots the ball. Picked up here by Bolton. Lambert goes through. Traffic off the deck. It's beautiful. Kick through the congestion. Lambert, it just went end over end. Sliding over the goal line. And Richmond get the response. 5-7-37. Port Adelaide 5-4-34. Tigers back in front by 3. 6 gone. 4th quarter. Grandstand AFL.
They'd be disappointed with that, Port. They just left the front of the stoppage open. What Richmond do better than anyone is just get blocks, and they move and they make your defenders defend. And it's a tough position on the ground because you don't want to give away a free kick. They just sort of hacked the ball forward, and Lambert, who came from the other side of the stoppage, just a toe poke, just hacked it forward. Good finish under pressure.
Shea Bolton involved again too. Just gets it out, takes the tackle, gets the footy forward. Edwards hip and shoulder on Ollie Wines to keep him out of the contest.
Tigers back in front by 3 points. Still plenty of time left in this final quarter. We've only had 7 minutes elapsed. Ball tossed up in the middle. Nankervis and Laddams battle. Laddams clearly with the tap down, but roved by Richmond's Prestia. Tumbling ball goes towards left half forward for the Tigers. Rioli meets it, fumbles, goes again, pressured by Amon and Ebert. Ball spews to the boundary. Pickett picks it up. He's tackled off it. Picked up by Butters of Port. Hand pass out the back. Pal Pepper has a go. Rioli's there to pressure him. Ball close to the boundary line and just kept in, is it? No, over the line for a boundary throw in on the outer side, left half forward for Richmond. Aaron Bryant's on the boundary.
Quinton, after starting on the bench, Ryan Burton has made his way onto the ground for the Power, headed straight to full forward, so he will start out of the goal square.
Toss back in between wing and half forward at Richmond's attacking end. One away by Nankervis. Lambert out in space, floats the hand pass back. Edwards involved as well. They come high inside, attacking 50 here for the Tigers. Reaching from the back, Revolt outnumbered. Ebert meets Martin. Ball out of 81. Martin gets a hand pass back to Lambert. Turned around by Amon on the tackle. Comes wide now back to Houston up against the boundary line. Pressure comes from Revolt. Dixon crashing the pack. No mark there. At the drop, Pickett for the Tigers. He's put down at left, half forward, just forward of the wing, and the umpire circling and will ball up. Eastern side, left half forward for Richmond, who lead by 3 points. 5-7 plays 5-4. We've played 8 minutes in this fourth term.
Clean possession, Nankervis, but tackled by Laddams. He lost it. Picked up by Graham of Richmond. 60 out left, half forward for the Tigers. Kicks them into attack. Flying the pack, Mackenzie the spoil. Martin the Rovey, but the tackle. Hand pass though, comes to short. Snap on goal from 30s across the face. And the Miners score to take Richmond out by 4 points at 5-8, 38 to 5-4, 34.
0-7 in clearance. Port are down. That's an absolute smashing in the last quarter of a prelim final. They got to get back on top here, and I think they've got to start pushing the ball forward.
Houston kicks out to use the corridor. Sorry, Campo. Rosie bursts through. Ball out of 1 now. Pal Pepper right out of it. Edwards slaps it back here. Dixon put down by Graham. Good size differential. Pal Pepper slaps it away here. Waiting for it, Butters. Has some support, Rockcliffe. His kick goes straight to Noah Bolter from the bullseye. Sends Richmond forward on the angle towards half forward. Plucked out beautifully by Rioli. Takes a low chest mark, 65 out. He's one good entry away. Wants to find Revolt in the 2-on-2. Staying at ground level down there is Mackenzie in defence for the Power. They're just on hands and knees clamouring for it, and will ball up 25 away from Richmond's attacking goal. River Torrens end, 4 points is their lead.
And Aaron, I think the rain stopped, hasn't it?
Completely stopped, Quinton. I'm very thankful. It's been a rough night, but we'll wait and see whether or not that actually affects conditions on the field.
Tigers in attack. Prestia the clearance. High contact from Bolter on Boak. No free kick. Desperate clearing kick from Port. Comes down on defensive 50. Cochin and Butters battle. Port end up with it. Butters with a hand pass to Rosie. Flips it in hope. No one there. Rioli gathers in the bullseye for Richmond. Hands it to Broad. His left boot puts them back into attack. Hartland at the front. Fisted by Revolt of the Tigers to the front of the pack. D50 there is Houston. His hand pass, they went to Pickett of Richmond. He gives to Hooley under pressure. Hand pass gave it off to Cochin. Tackled by Rockcliffe. Pal Pepper dives in to ensure it's locked up. And we will have a ball up on attacking 50 for the Tigers.
7-2 inside 50s this quarter alone in favour of Richmond.
Tigers by 4 points. The ball up. Laddams v Lynch slapped out the back. Prestia keeps it moving. Revolt can't get there. Prestia tried to go off the ground here. Picked up by Bolton. Gets it away here again for the Tigers. They bring it wide from Jaden Short, and now it's marked by Cochin. 52 out. Put down late with the kick, going deep towards the pocket. Ebert in defence. Martin comes up with it. Goes to the outside of the boot. It's too far across the face of goal. Revolt's outnumbered again. Amon couldn't mark. Shark by Revolt. He snaps. Lynch goes off the deck. Hand pass goes straight to Laddams in defence. Sets a task now for Hartland, who finds the boundary line. That will be deliberate. Deep at left, full forward for the Tigers. Hartland will be pinged. And this could be an opportunity for the Tigers to break the game wide open through Lambert.
Just weight of numbers, isn't it? Just pressure, pressure, pressure.
Well, Port have only had 19 disposals for the quarter.
Already just a 4-point lead, but Lambert with his second from deep in the left forward pocket pushes the margin out to 10. which just seems so valuable in this situation. It's hard fought, combative, wet, slippery finals footy, and it's Richmond 6-8-44, Port Adelaide 5-4, 34, 12 gone final term, Grandstand AFL on the ABC.
Only the second time in the game we've seen a double-digit margin. The first time was after Richmond kicked the first 2 goals. It's only 10 points, but that's how big it is in the contact, Scott Camporelli and Rod Jamieson.
Yeah, it should be more than that for this quarter. They're getting absolutely belted, Port Adelaide. Down by 10 in contested possession. They are tackling, though, but they're always under pressure. The clearances are 1-8. Inside 50s, as you said, Jamo, 2-7. They've had 4 shots on goal this quarter, Richmond. They've actually dominated, other than Dixon's forward entry, mark and goal. They've had no inside 50 opportunities at all, Port. They're getting smashed around the ball, smashed around the midfield. Prestia 5, Martin 5, Lambert 4. The Port Adelaide midfield haven't touched it.
Chasing tail, 4-12 tackles Port Adelaide's way.
Centre-bound slice it, roams his own tap, kicks to half-forward, but Hooley kicks it off the ground for Richmond to the wing and fortuitously to the lap of McIntosh. Takes the mark, plays on for the Tigers, kicks to half-forward. Hartlett grapples there with Lambert and the ball is out of play, but the grapple was illegal from Lambert, so a free kick to Hartlett. And Dan Rioli slaps the ball out of his hand and gives away a 50-metre penalty.
Oh, that was silly. That was genuinely silly.
So the tattooed Hartlett will be marched just beyond the wing. And a chance to put Port back into attack. He kicks it as hard as he can. It's straight on the head of Nankervis. Marks uncontested for Richmond in the right back pocket. Tigers 6-8-44. Power 5-4, 34. 13 and a half minutes final quarter.
Nankervis thumps it long beyond defensive 50. Cleary with the spoil on Lynch. Ricochet down towards Edwards, though. Turns to kick up the boundary line members' side. Up in front, Burn-Jones takes the intercept. Good contested effort that time against Lambert. Burn-Jones drives it long towards the paint of 50 Cathedral end. Outnumbered that time in defence, Port players, but Marshall comes up with it. Hand pass left wanting, this time Amon sliding out. Sort of chucks it back inboard now. Hartlett's been put down. Some high contact came via a bump from Graham. Amon, meanwhile, takes advantage. Sends Port Adelaide deep inside forward 50. Motlop in the one-on-one that time against Short. Motlop can track it towards the boundary line. Will throw it back in front of the old scoreboard. 20 around from the right behind post. Port Adelaide deep in attack and trailing by 10 points. That's Richmond's lead. 6-8 plays 5-4. 14 and a half played final term. Preliminary final on ABC Grandstand AFL.
Friendly fire too. Todd Marshall cleaning up Hamish Hartlett.
Throw in underneath the scoreboard in the right forward pocket for Port. Dixon. First to the right contest, rode by Wines, kick to the goal mouth. Laddams has it, got dragged off it without the footy. Free kick, Port Adelaide. And it's the man who kicked a spectacular goal in that round 11 fixture. The big, athletic Peter Laddams, who will try and keep the flame flickering for Port here. His assignment is not really about the geography or the journey. It's about the pressure. He's only 25 out, slightly right. But he needs to kick the goal to keep Port's season alive. Laddams to the Cathedral end to narrow the margin to 4 points. Left boot does the trick. If you need heart medication and it's not within reach, find it now. Because this is only going to get the blood pumping even further.
Well, there's plenty of time, Quid. There's 7 minutes to go, so each team's going to have their chance of momentum. It's really about efficiency and who can actually get their opportunities. So Richmond have taken theirs early. Port have gone in twice and kicked 2 goals.
Richmond 6-8-44. Port Adelaide 6-4-40, Rod Jamieson.
I'm just taking a breath. I was just actually thinking, how would both coaches be thinking in the box right now, trying to work out or manoeuvre one way just to get a small edge?
Yeah, well, you can't, Jamo. Sorry, Spriggy, you can't. It's just your best players have to make really good decisions, but Port's best players haven't played well this quarter yet, so maybe that's still up Ken's sleeve.
If it feels like our best prelim for a while, our colleague called Middlemass tells us this. First time since the Giants-Bulldogs epic in 2016 that both teams have led in the final term of the prelim final. Back in the middle here with the Tigers leading by 4 points. Nankervis wins the clearance, sends Richmond high towards half forward. Ebert goes back across the half-back line and takes the intercepts. What a game of footy we've got here. Ebert looks for a way out of defence here for Port Adelaide. Sends it up the members' side, landing right near the centre circles, in fact, so it wanted its way back in the middle of the ground here. Dixon picks it up, hand pass left wanting. Edwards bursts through, a little too low for Martin, tries to go off the ground. Gray swoops through here for the power. Pepper sets a task down there for Hartland in defence. They come away with it though, Port Adelaide. Gray comes up the eastern wing where he finds Boak. No! Trying to go low to his left and take the slips catch. It evades his grasp and goes out for a throw-in front of the Max Bashir stand here at Adelaide Oval. 4 points is Richmond's lead. We have played 17 and a half minutes in this final quarter.
Best players Port Adelaide had, their best players in that passage of play too. I was just unsure of where Brad Ebert was kicking the football though.
Lycett taps down but only to Cochin. The Richmond skipper kicks to the middle of the ground. Bounce favours Rioli. 60 out, has time to steady. Kicks high on the head of Revolt. McKenzie with him. Revolt loses him. Ebert saves the day. Third man in to thump it close to the boundary line and out. Boundary thrown in the left forward pocket for Richmond.
He's hurt.
What's he done? He's not again.
Might be. I think he just landed awkwardly.
I reckon he's banged his head on the ground. You watch this in replay. Bang.
Or elbow from Revolt and then ground as well. I think it's a two-time contact for Brad Ebert. And this is a terrible sight as he cannot keep his weight on his legs, but for the help of the trainers around him. And Brad Ebert, in his 260th game, can hardly take his body from the ground, but the fans will try and lift him with their hands and voice.
I feel sick with this one. He's been an unbelievable player and contributor to this club, but this is multiple times that he has ended up with concussion.
He is being applauded from the ground, and we have that sickening moment, that nagging question, is this the end for him? And it comes with a team-saving play, third man in, on a moment where Jack Revolt had given Trent McKenzie the drop, would have taken the mark.
Lynch out of the ruck, runs into trouble, just gets it out towards Revolt. Kicks up the line here. Houston slaps it back. Winds up in a big tackle that time by Edwards. Really reaching the football. Gets a hand pass off to Bolton. Evades Burne-Jones. Does he have space to get the kick away? High towards goal. It's on its way and it's missing to the left-hand side. So Richmond makes something of that while Ebert comes from the ground. One more to their lead, the Tigers. 6-9-45. Port Adelaide 6-4-40. We've been playing 19 and a half minutes in this final term.
Houston long with the kick in, marked by Dixon in the middle of the ground for Port. Just defensive side of the centre circles, kicks to Powell. Pepper running hard at right half forward. He keeps it in, puts it on his toe, but straight to short of Richmond, who marks a defensive 50. Left half back.
Really poor play, Quinton. Sorry. They've just got to slow the ball up. Dixon needed the forwards to reset and even the ground up. You can't just hack it forward because Richmond just drop off best at anyone and they counter-attack from there.
Short's long kick to the wing turned over. Boak picks up for Port, kicks them back to attacking 50, but Broad is there to mark for Richmond. 5 points the lead to the Tigers at 6-9 to 6-4. 20 minutes played, final quarter.
Broad gives it a roost. Players converge on the eastern wing. Revolt wants to sit, won't get it. McKenzie, it just fell in his grasp. Can he propel the power forward? They trail by 5 from the outer logo. Uses the angles, comes wide on the boundary line. It's been marked by Boak. Still 75 or so from goal. Sets it high towards the target inside forward 50. Up goes Rosie first. And Curvis is claiming the mark and the umpire gives it to him. He had the first touch, had the second bite at ground level, and he is paid the mark, Nankervis.
Kicks it to the outer wing for Richmond. 2-on-1. Port favourite in the pack. Jonas decides to fist it. Slews off his knuckle out of play. Boundary throw in. Aaron, what's news on Brad Ebert?
So Brad Ebert's definitely done for the day, completely glassy-eyed, but knows it could be the season for him as well. He has his head in his hands and looks quite emotional about it. Ryan Burton has also been off for a significant portion of this back half of the final term as well. Doesn't look like he'll be getting back on the ground either. And Connor Rosie's just come off, grabbing his left hamstring as well. Doesn't look to be too bad, but he'll be run down as well.
Throwing out a wing. Gray roves the pack for Port, hands it back to Lycett. Rush kick. Going to be marked by Wines. Although it's not going to be paid as a mark, it will come back for a free kick to Port. Robbie Gray manhandled in the stoppage. 5 points to lead to Richmond. Ray kept short to Lysett. Marks on the outer wing. Still more than 4 minutes of playing time left. Lysett kicks Port to half forward. Powell Pepper in the pack. Can't mark. Ground level. Baker's clearing kick off the ground. Smothered by Houston. Rumbles across half forward. Dersma gathers 60 from goal. Weaves infield. Got tackled. Hand pass to no one in particular. Koch in there for the Tigers. Taps it to Pickett on defensive 50. Runs infield. Left foot kick. Stumbles, very devilishly out of defence, picked up by Burne-Jones of Port, hands it to Boat from 60, he kicks it deep to a 2-on-2 in the goal square. Floston back there for Richmond wins the spillage, bangs it clear and high from the right back pocket.
Going up, Dersma in the contest, out of his grasp, Powell Pepper at the drop towards the boundary line, Burne-Jones socketed it back in play. Hartlett over his shoulder, gets the hand pass, keeps it alive, and now it's gone out of bounds. Off Powell Pepper, crashing in. And that is a very important forward 50 stoppage coming up here for Port. They must throw everything at this.
It was a poor decision. Travis Boat was in the middle of the ground by himself. It was just a 15-metre kick into the corridor. He would have run and kicked that, knocked that over.
Richmond by 5. Nankervis wins it down. Sprawling in for it, Prestia was beaten to a this occasion. Rockcliffe's hand pass goes out wide. Too wide for Bogut again. Will throw it back in. 60 around for Port Adelaide's goal at the northern end of Adelaide Oval. They need a goal to get back in front and progress for next week's premiership decider.
Well, Port have evened up the numbers other than the clearances. They've got back on top around contested ball.
Throw in on attacking 50 for Port. Prestia at the row for Richmond. Tackle but hands it to Pickett near the boundary. Kicks the Tigers from right half back to the wing. Dustin Martin arrives in a 2-on-2. But didn't arrive before Houston got first, then controlling touch for Port to claim the mark. Houston with his right, kicks Port back to attacking 50, lies at the target. Laddams crashes the pack. Koch and Rose for the Tigers. Hand pass to Broad, hand pass to McIntosh. He'll run off half back for Richmond. Runs towards the outer wing, pursuing his Marshall. McIntosh on his left, kicks to attacking 50. Revolt goes down, dragged down, free kick Richmond. McKenzie the offender. Man on the mark, 52 from goal at left half forward. 2.5 on the clock. And Jack knows he'll take every millisecond of the 30 seconds afforded to him here.
How was the call, Campo?
Well, both players, I thought Jack initiated the contact, but it looked like from the replay just grabbed him on the Guernsey on the chest and pulled him forward. But
even a point's valuable here because Richmond can't lose in regular time, you'd think. 5 points is the lead as he got the journey Revolt. Hits it as hard as he can from 55. It is a point. It's a goal to lead to Richmond with 2 minutes remaining at 6:10:46 to 6:4:40.
Down the middle. It'll come straight down the middle. It'll be a knock-on. Robbie Gray, one-on-one in the goal square.
Houston buys some space. Comes up the corridor now. Up along the outer side. Going up in space now. Marshall wins it down for Motlop. Kicks into space just forward of the wing. Will go to play just before right half forward. And will throw it back in. So the power can set up from this stoppage. They have to get the ball inside 50 though.
How lucky was that, Spriggy? That
Based
went
on
very wide.
modern interpretation of deliberate out of bounds. Yeah, you're quite right, Jamo.
And the consistency of what they've been playing tonight.
Toss back in, Lysett from the back. Cochin's kick through traffic. Burne-Jones can't gather. Has Rioli for company. Goes in hard. So too Rockcliffe. They're waiting for it to come out. And the umpire says it's ball up on the eastern wing. Richmond keep a 6-point lead late in this preliminary final.
Anyone fancy extra time?
Sure.
Port need a goal to lock it up. Tigers trying to hang on. Dersma with the clearance for Port. Tumbles it to attacking 50. Dixon crashes the pack once, twice. Almost claimed the mark third time. Roving Baker of Richmond. Not an affecting clearing kick and the ball rumbles out of play. 60 from Port's goal. The Tigers doing all they can to cling on here. Port with the last thrust.
Robbie Gray, he'll be the target here. He'll be on the move and see whether they can manufacture something here.
Throw in 60 from Port's goal at right half forward. Lysett and then Curvis tangle. Powell Pepper came through, had an air shot. Ball back towards the boundary. Powell Pepper thumps it inside 50, but Broad's there for Richmond. Here's clearing kick. Dersma back with a flight, takes the mark. He's 2 kicks from goal. What's he do? Wheels and gets on his right. Kicks the power to the attacking zone. Nankervis in the time of need for the Tigers. Big Nank takes a big pack mark in the left back pocket for Richmond.
He's been enormous this last quarter.
Nankervis points his kick towards the eastern side. Up they go. Cleary was too far underneath it. Dersma out the back, and Jonas gives chase as well up against the boundary line. Gets the hand pass off to Rockcliffe. Snaps across his body. 60 out from goal here. That'll drop there for Port Adelaide. Laddams couldn't pull in the grab. Boat finds the boundary line and will throw it back in. 60 around from goal, Cathedral End. There is still time here for Port, albeit not much.
34 seconds.
Clearance. How important is this clearance?
Tigers by 6 points.
Cal Pepper ripped through the front.
Watch Dersma.
They set up here. Lysett feeds it down. It was a little too wide for Burne-Jones. Rioli dispossessed. Out of the air, Martin had Dersma for company. It goes towards the boundary line and rolls out for a throw-in. Right away from us on the eastern wing. 22 seconds left. Another stoppage.
22 seconds left in the game, and Richmond lead by a goal. Throw in. True centering on the outer side. Sharon goes into the night sky. Lysett and Nankervis lock hands. Prestia with the rove. Hand pass to Lambert. Kick inside. 50 for Richmond, but straight to Cleary for Port. They've got to go. They've got 10 seconds from half back. He kicks it long towards half forward. Who's there? Presenting Laddams. Pickett makes the spoil. Ball to ground level. Kicked off the ground inside 50. And would you believe it's Tom Lynch with the ball in hand, taking the mark on the full-time siren. And the Tigers are headed to the Gabba to try and defend their crown. The minor premier are gone. Richmond win it by a goal.
In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and shin. If we're behind, then never mind. We'll fight and win for every Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone. Like the tiger of old, we're strong and we're bold. For we're from Tiger, yellow and black. We're from Tigerland.
6:10:46 beats 6:4:40 in a pulsating, tight, slippery affair at Adelaide Oval, where Port led by 2 points at quarter time. It was level at half time. Richmond led by 2 points at three-quarter time. A Charlie Dixon bomb got Port in front. Kane Lambert kicked 2 goals in a row to get the Tigers in front. Laddams reduced the margin, but the Tigers hung on. It will be Richmond in the decider for the 3rd time in 4 years. And the Powers' 150th year is over.
Tigerland, a fighting fury, we're from Tigerland. In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and shin. If we're behind, then never mind. We'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone. Like the tiger of old, we're strong and we're bold. For we're from Tiger, yellow and black. We're from Tigerland.
This will take some sorting through. We'd love to hear from you on the SMS 0437 774 774. That's 0437 774 774. Please include your name and where you are texting from. Richmond 6:10:46, Port Adelaide 6:4:40. 2 goals to Dustin Martin, 2 goals to Kane Lambert, singles to Jack Riewoldt and Tom Lynch. And for Port Adelaide, 2 goals to Connor Rosie, singles to Xavier Dersma, Charlie Dixon, Scott Lysett and Peter Laddams. The Tigers have made it to the last game yet again, and Port Adelaide fall short as minor premier 3 out of 4 times. They've failed to get to the grand final.
Just a nice moment too in the middle. Ken Hinkley went out and Damien Hardwick gave him a hug there too and shook his hand and passed as he's waiting for his team to come together. Damien Hardwick walking off, but geez, they just know what to do, don't they? I think we're well within our rights. When we came tonight, we just were unsure as to which way it go, and we really gave it to the home side in Port Adelaide because of what they're being able to do, but it doesn't entitle you to get to where you need to be, which is the last day in September, normally being now late October. But in a hostile environment, up against it, Port Adelaide was stiff in the end too. You're going to have a look at Burton's probably done a driver or a hammy. Ebert goes down as well. Rosie struggles. I think just how tough the game was. Richmond outstanding in the last quarter.
Oh, they dominated particularly I wrote some notes at the 9-minute mark. They were plus 10 in contested possession. They were plus 8 in clearance. They'd kicked 2 goals too. And Port had only had 20 possessions up until then. And the inside 50s were well and truly, like I think it was 2 to 12 or 2 to 13 at that stage as well, Jamo. So they got smashed through the midfield in that, particularly that first half of that quarter, and they just couldn't work their way back into it.
Thank you to Nicole from Murrumbina. A very happy Tiger. It was Trent Cotchin's 250th game tonight and a great result. Thank you, Nicole. 0437 774 774. All bar 3 of the players that triumphed against Greater Western Sydney at the end of September at the MCG last year for Richmond were out there tonight. They haven't had much of a change over at all. And if there's no changes at selection, there's only one player that will go out there at the Gabba on Saturday night, not having experienced a premiership, and that's Noah Bolter. They are such an experienced team, and didn't they show it in the clinch tonight?
Yeah, they did. I mean, and as Jamo said, it was one of those things that's an intangible thing. It doesn't come up on the stats in front of us in terms of experience and know-how and getting it done, and your good players and your system getting it done at the right time. So they've had a terrific year, Port. They'll be disappointed, no doubt about that, but they made some progress this year. They finished top of the table, but as you said, that doesn't necessarily give you the right to play off in a grand final. And, you know, to be fair, Richmond, they still finished third. They still had a really good year, so it's not like, you know, they've come from the clouds. But once again, their good players played well again. You know, Martin, 24 possessions or 20 possessions and 2 goals in a low-scoring game.
Toby Nankervis had 5 disposals in that last quarter and 3 marks, and how critical though, and all 3 were either deep inside their defence as well.
James from Kew, thank you for your SMS. I'm glad to see Richmond win, because we wouldn't have heard the end of it if Port had got up. Hello to Fribourg. Oh no, this is from Fribourg in Switzerland, an exiled Tiger on the edge of my seat. One ear on a conference call, the other ear on the match. Jumping for joy at the siren. Jumping for joy in Fribourg in Switzerland. Yep.
Well, in a conference call.
Yep. Who cares if the conference call is going on when you've got footy finals on the other side of the world?
Oh, it's just so good. My family are on North America, in Canada as well, and they hook in at all sorts of hours too, and it just really, they love it. There's more being shown over too in North America and Europe.
And Brad Ebert now is able to carry his own weight. Unlike when he hit the deck in the final quarter, he is leading Port Adelaide off the ground. 260 games strong. Can his head take any more? We'll wait and see.
I doubt it. You know, he's been such a warrior, hasn't he, Jamo? And we've seen him firsthand, probably week in and week out with what he does. He's a great family name, the Ebert name, in terms of Port Adelaide's tradition. He's got a young family and a wife. You know, at some stage you've got to, I guess, take it to the next level and say, what's my quality of life after footy? You know, we live and breathe it, and I guess we're our own worst enemies as players, but I hope he's okay. He's a great fella, and he deserves all the accolades he gets if he does retire.
Land from Brunswick is on the SMS. Losing Ebert was the difference. Well, he saved a goal with the act, which I think was first incidental contact with the elbow of Jack Revolt, and then very strong contact with the ground.
Yep.
Just on players that may have their careers end, we know, of course, Justin Westhoff is retiring, so unlikely he would have come back in next week anyway, but that's now officially his career over. What a 7 of the club he was there, 280 games, a best and fairest, the power as well, so his career officially ends tonight as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, he's much loved as well. Westy, you know, in terms of if you want a typical team player, he's perfect role model as any.
And now in game 250, Trent Cotchin is being chaired from Adelaide Oval by Dylan Grimes and Dustin Martin, and he will have dreams of lifting the Premiership Cup for a 3rd time in 4 years next week. What a way to celebrate the milestone of the posthumously, almost, in sporting terms, Brownlow medalist of 2011, Trent Cotchin, leaves the ground in a milestone match, and they have the joy of one night to play.
They've been huge as a club, as you've highlighted, but I think even more so this year. Everyone spoke about how easy it might have been, or it's not going to be that hard, but one, the AFL have got the games away, so huge tick to get the season away. The way they've hubbed, the way they've travelled, their consistency. They started really slow too. They had that draw in round 2. They lost to the Hawks in round 3. They lost to St Kilda in round 4. So they just started to wind it up as the season went on.
In a moment, we'll take you to the Tigers' rooms for the song. Stick with us. If you want to get in touch, that SMS number again, 0437 774 774. Richmond versus Brisbane or Geelong. 4 has become 3 in this extraordinary 2020 season. And now it's time for yellow and black to bellow out from the stands underneath the Adelaide Oval after a 6-point preliminary final victory in wet and slippery conditions. They've had to do it the hard way, the Tigers, losing in week 1, but they've earned the right to play in the last game of the year. Well, I think the noise tells you the story of just how enthusiastic they are, and they're not done yet. They are not done yet.
No, they're not. And they look hungry too, don't they? I mean, to win a close prelim final like that, I mean, that you just see. And we asked Leper, I can't remember who it was, whether it was UQ in the pre-game, are they hungry still? Yes, they are. No doubt about that. They came to play. They weathered a bit of the storm. There was some momentum shifts in the game. Even that third quarter, we talk about the premiership quarter, it was dead even in terms of everything other than 2 points on the scoreboard. And then they put their foot down in that start of that last quarter. As we mentioned already, that first 9 minutes, they were exceptional. Yeah. They couldn't do anything wrong.
And just a couple of little moments that stick in your mind, Rod. You mentioned the Nankervis marks, but in the clutch at the end of the game, we saw the key defender, Noah Bolter, take a mark and have a shot on goal. And then, at the end of the game, the last mark was taken by Tom Lynch, put back in the hole by Damien Hardwick. This is a team that continues to find solutions.
Well, again, I think, Campo, you touched, they're just system-based. They just know where to go, what to do. And whilst Richmond were walking off and then singing that song, I was just looking at Josh Caddy. He's played 8 games, so he's contributed. Would he come back in? Olive Markov played 6, probably won't. I mean, Jake Arts has played 14 games, kicked 14 goals. He's probably not going to come back in, but he's contributed. And Mabai Chol has actually played 11 games and contributed too. So the health of their list has contributed as the season has got on, and they've been able to manage it and get better. And every time, Q, this would be interesting to you. We spoke about this. Just living in Queensland too, I would think would make a big difference on recovery, as opposed to, being in the depth and cold down at Geelong, or being in the middle of Melbourne in the middle of June and July.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that's part of why Luke Hodge was such a success at Brisbane, because ageing bodies like the warmth to recover. But it has been a masterstroke from the football department of Richmond. Think of the risk of, personal issues for Shane Edwards, no real decision there. Basher Hooley, similar as well. But the way that, injury to Dion Prestia, Trent Cotchin had time out, and Nankervis had time out. All of these drivers of the midfield, I think they probably realised, are the next half dozen, if we have to bring in half a dozen, good enough? Or do we have to get our champs to the line for one more crack? And it might just be one more. And again, tonight, as I said, Noah Bolter's the only player out there that hasn't won a premiership, all bar 3 that went around tonight, played on grand final day last year. That's really rare in modern footy.
Yeah, I think they're not that old, Richmond, really. If you look at their list, there's probably only a couple that are really sort of ones that maybe in the next 12 months to 2 years that you'd think that would be sort of slowing down in that space or looking to probably lose their spot to some younger guys. But no doubt, I mean, we spoke about it in the pre-game, to not have Cochin, Prestia, Edwards and Hooley, like they're 4 really important ins, and they've all played well. No surprise, Prestia second in possessions for Richmond at 19. Cochin 17. He was inspirational. Again, 5 clearances and the way he gets after him. Hooley the next in 15. So they got smashed last time against Port. Those 4 players there that we just mentioned have all came in and contributed at a really high level.
On the SMS, Kylie, thank you for your message. 0437 774 774. She thinks Port ran out of puff and fumbled too much in the second half. Thank you for your thoughts. Mullows in Chatswood, if the Port fans put more effort into cheering than booing than the Tigers so much, maybe they could have won. Well, the emotion coming out now. Keep it neat. 0437 774 774. And an unnamed text here. Please send us your name. Well done, Ebert Child. A most honourable way to end one's career. Care about your champion brain and self for at least 3 weeks. Decide now, tell later. Yeah.
Okay.
It's an interesting one. Ron from Mildura, bring on the Tigers' next prey. Change the rules, change the game time. You'll never change a champion team's MO. Good on you, Ron from Mildura. 0437 774 774. Richmond 61046, Port Adelaide 6440.
And making sense of their finals prowess and their standards, Richmond, you have to go to another level, don't you? If you can't just go with them, you have to let a knockout blow on a champion team like that, don't you? That's what. And Port were good enough for parts, but over the journey, over the 12 rounds, if you like, they will last because of the experience and the class they have.
Yeah, and once again, good players play well. They make good decisions at good times. But, you know, there's ones that Port had 59 inside 50s and still couldn't kick a score. So we talk about the best defensive team. Port were the best defensive team and Richmond were number 2 in the competition throughout the year. But to defend 59 inside 50s and to only give away 40 points is unbelievable. That's an unbelievable effort by their back six and the pressure up the ground from the midfielders to actually keep and not give them any clean ball going inside forward 50. And to be fair, some of Port's early inside 50s, they were their own worst enemy with their disposal inside forward 50 as well.
You can't emulate game and the pressure that it applies. And when you have a look at their losses too, the biggest one was 32 points in round 3, 26, 12, 21. They're in every game. You know, they really are in every game, and you've actually got to almost get the knockout blow to actually get over the top of them.
It's not 3 in a row that they're going for, but 3 and 4. So I'll look at the recent 3 in a rows. And, of course, Hawthorn had to do it the hard way in 2015, travelling twice to the west, losing in week 1, and then ending up winning that premiership in 2015. And then giving away my age here, was at the Olympic Stadium in 2003 when the Sydney Swans looked like they were going to flog the Brisbane Lions at three-quarter time, as the Lions were 2-time reigning champs. Simon Black played out of his skin in the final quarter. Brisbane won that preliminary final, and what did they do? Tore Collingwood to shreds the following week. So they're the most recent examples I can think of. We know what these teams have done in the preceding years. We ask about the hunger. We get the test in the final series. And of those that have been able to win 3 tight-knit, not discounting Geelong's 3 and 5, but the 3 in a row for Brisbane, the 3 in a row for Hawthorn, and here's Richmond going for 3 and 4, you can see the similarities to those champion teams. When it comes to the last month, something clicks.
Well, even Geelong, I mean, you look at Geelong through that period, I remember they were
7-9-11.
Oh, they were unbelievable. You know, like even during the year, the way they went about it, and they were just connected. And that's what you see with this Richmond group. They're so connected, and it is a big thing, and it's a modern day word about being connected on the ground and understanding what you need to do. So you talk about Lynch going back and Boulder. That's just game style. That's just education, and that's just playing a lot of footy together and understanding the moment. Now, Dimmer would pull the trigger on a couple of those things, but they've got a pretty experienced group now that they'll deserve to go in favourites next week.
You just know what you have to do. And when it's your time, you better do it or you might not be there next week.
And Spriggy, well done you for keeping an eye on the action, because I must admit I got swept up in seeing Brad Ebert come from the ground. And Jocelyn from Perth is on the SMS. She texts, that Ebert incident was appallingly handled by the umpires in the AFL. How dare they play on before he's escorted off the ground just because the clock is ticking? Where is the duty of care for that player? Play should have stopped until he was safely escorted off the ground. That was very unfair, and we're the motorised escort to look after him. And the best way to possibly handle that,
well, I think
there may be repercussions. Now, I think to the letter of the law, the umpire did the right thing, because you have to have the motorised cart or stretcher out there to stop play. But I get your point, Joel. And I must admit, Spriggy, I got swept up in the pure theatre of it. Here is a match-saving moment from a much-loved player in a preliminary final, and his career's ending, and the ump says play on as he's 15 metres from the interchange gates.
Yeah, and then the Hartlett deliberate shortly after. What did you think of... I know people harp on these sort of things deciding games. Wasn't necessarily decisive in the grand scheme of things, although that was the
Lambert
the last
kicks the goal.
Yeah, like, you know, game-winning goal. What did you make of the Hartlett thing?
I think it was a free kick.
They've been playing it all year.
I mean, some of the ones that we saw tonight in terms of hat kick under pressure, and now the rule is interpreted as you've got to try and keep the ball in play.
Yeah.
That's the interpretation. So if I'm a coach educating the players, you've got to try to be seen to be keeping the ball in play. Hamish Hartlett didn't try and keep the ball in play.
Yeah. And the onus is more on defenders as well, isn't it, in those situations?
Well, they get amplified because it's in that part of the ground, so they're always under more pressure, I guess, more than anything. And particularly Port's D50. I mean, Richmond's forwards, they terrorise you. And in the modern day game, there's probably 2 or 3 of those nippy pressure forwards that are right at you, so you don't get a lot of time and space.
There was a couple of times tonight, though, midfield, you get the footy and just kick it down as far into your forward 50, but it still runs out of bounds, and you get penalised for doing it deliberate. Like, it doesn't seem right. I mean, I know you're normally just getting it into space.
Hartlett's was a bad moment from a player that you'd expect more of, in my assessment.
Pressure moment.
Yeah, it was a pressure. His momentum was going forward. I think he was trying to maybe
dive on the ball and slide towards the boundary. There are different ways to do that.
Yeah, it's really easy sitting up here.
Exactly, of course it is. But if that's a 19-year-old kid playing his 20th game, you think caught in the headlights. I think Port players and fans would have expected more of Hamish Hartlett's experience in that moment.
Yeah, for me, I don't really get caught up in those incidents. I get caught up in the stats that I said to you at the 9-minute mark. That causes that there. So you go back to the initial bit around what was the major issue. They lost field position. They lost control of the game. Their midfield got smashed. Yep. They got beaten in clearance. They got smashed in contested ball. And the pressure builds. And what happens when pressure builds, having been a player and a coach, these things happen. I mean, it's very hard for... you go through all the greats. You know, I played with Steve Silvani. Steve Silvani, he would have probably done exactly the same thing. Now, the rule was changed, but when you're under that much pressure, it's so difficult.
I know we've got plenty of time to ponder it, but what's the best case scenario next week? Richmond versus who?
Wow. I mean, there's a storyline for both.
Yeah,
I mean, you'd love to see Brisbane get an opportunity. They're the up-and-coming, I guess, the ones that are, we talked about taking the throne, but then you've got Geelong, who are probably in their last ditch, and there's some players in there that are probably going to move on, greats of the game. You know, and even Dangerfield, he's played in 5 losing prelim finals. If he gets there, he's probably one of the most decorated players in the game at the moment, so that'd be a great finish for him.
But purely in football terms, who do you think is the best matchup for the Tigers next week?
I don't think they'd want to play Geelong.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd want to play Geelong. They lost to Geelong in round 17.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, John.
I don't think they'd want to play Geelong.
And yet the alternative is 30,000 screaming Brisbane Lions fans. Well, for the most part.
And I know, to your point, I don't want to be cynical or I don't want to be disrespectful either too. Like, you know, I think Chris Fagan's done an amazing job up there in Brisbane too to get that young team and bring in who he's needed to bring in to get them to where they are. So he's done a phenomenal job. But I think the psyche of, again, games played, experienced players, quality players, getting hold of the moment, understanding the moment against Richmond, I don't think they'd want to play Geelong.
I'm going to go a bit broader. If Geelong win tomorrow, the asterisk is officially removed. If Richmond play Geelong and the winner of the comp comes from those two, give them all the plaudits.
Yep.
Because it's not Port that was able to spend half the season here. It's not Brisbane that was able to spend most of the season at home. If we get Richmond and Geelong, anyone who thought that way can forget about it. Because there are two teams that would have the same scenario and they battle it out at the Gabba.
That's a good
in
point.
Neutral ground.
No, it's a really good point. And there was always going to be those asterisks this year in terms of, you know, the way the season's gone. But you make a good point, Q, in terms of, those both
now that
teams
Port's gone, and
absolutely.
I mean, who knows? If Brisbane get there, Richmond might beat them anyway, and all power to the Tigers. Brisbane might win, and no matter what, there will be discussion that they played 2 games in Sydney.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's the
And
same
that was
argument. We could say the same argument. Richmond played the last 15 games at the MCG, so they get essentially a home ground advantage at the MCG as well. So we can argue those points, but I think your point is right.
Yeah. Has it been then the most even season in terms of where games have been played? So all of a sudden, you don't go Collingwood 14 games at the MCG, or Richmond 11, 14 games at the MCG.
Well, I think the fallacy, having now come out of it for 12 months, the fallacy of a home ground advantage and travel and all these, there's going to be a lot of next year is, there's no complaining around a home ground advantage.
And
because
travelling on the same day too.
All that stuff. So there's all going to be different things that have come out of this. So hopefully we can get back and play games in Melbourne again. But, still 85,000, 90,000 at the MCG is still quite daunting, no doubt about that. But in terms of all those myths around, that's a home ground advantage and we need to travel this, there's a lot of those things that have been, the old mythbusters, that's for sure.
Keep the SMSs coming, 0437 774 774. They really do just add a sprinkle of flavour to us. We know that you're here listening to the broadcast from the footy, but we love hearing how we're coming to you. Thank you to Patrick from Aspendale Gardens, who thanks us for taking him to a season of power games in difficult circumstances. Mark from Canberra says, this Tigers side is something special. Bad luck for Brad Ebert getting concussed. Changed the last quarter, I think. AFL has to look at the deliberate out-of-bounds rule. Jamo is right, a really dumb rule. I love this one. From Rich in Canada. Been drifting in and out of sleep listening to the game at 4 a.m. in Canada. Had Nank taking marks in my dreams.
Well,
he took one.
He took 3. He's actually taken 4 now, so they've corrected it. Have a look. He's had 13 disposals, but in the end, he's had 4 marks. He's had 7 contested. He's had 10 tackles, 19 hit-outs, 3 clearances. That's what I was saying. I really like the way he plays. He's a nasty ruckman, and he carries a lot of the workload himself, but his secondary work, his follow-up work, his effort that he brings and provides, when you go over to the other side, he is the number 1 tackling player on the ground.
Well, he's the highest rated in terms of rankings from there. He's the highest ranking player on the ground, for a ruckman in terms of getting absolutely smashed from a hit-out point of view, his influence around the ground.
And the management. So that was his 10th game of the season, and they've played a lot of the year with Chol. Of course, Soldo was there on grand final day. So maybe they've thought 20% less game time, Nank can take us through. And, gee, didn't he show it there tonight? A couple more. Thank you to Julianne, who's a Port supporter from Melbourne. So did Quentin enjoy the Adelaide Oval experience, and would he go back? Of course. I've been here heaps of time for cricket, but this is the first time I've been here for footy. I do have a little anecdote to tell. The only time I've ever missed a flight in my 20 years at the ABC was when I was supposed to come here and call Port versus St Kilda a couple of years ago. I'd done a late game at Carrara. I put my phone beside my bed and the alarm on. Phone died in the middle of the night.
You didn't plug it in?
Well, it said it had 70% battery left and it died. Mind you, I was only going to get about 4 or 5 hours sleep. So I thought, no, it'll last. I'll get up and go. Anyway, so, yeah, I was due to come here a couple of years ago and I love this place. It's just such... what has been done here... And speaking to Spriggy, who's been here a few times before, I mean, the test match at the Adelaide Oval is one of the great things to be a part of in Australian sport. I'm lucky to have been here for cricket, but, yeah, here for footy, Fantastic. So thank you for your concern and questions there, Julianne. It was fantastic. Hopefully we're getting into the Richmond room shortly if you've just joined us. The Tigers winning a tight, slippery preliminary final by 6 points, 6-10-46 to 6-4-40. Anne from Brunswick says the clearance rate changed massively in the second half. Pal Pepper was shut down. Well, that's what Scotty Camporelli
all over it.
Talking about.
The answer next to me, he was all over it.
The Hartlett incident, according to David from Clifton Hill. His two teammates watched the ball go past them. If they had have moved to the ball, no free kick. I haven't seen as many replays, but that's an interesting one. And, of course, Mikey from Bendigo. G'day, Mikey, long-time supporter. Hi, Q and team. Storm boys are through to another grand final. Hopefully my Lions can join them tomorrow night. Yes, in the NRL, it was Melbourne 30 over Canberra 10.
Talk about, that's some sort of serious dynasty there, isn't it, too?
Absolutely.
Well,
like Bellamy and Cameron Smith
and they've spent the entire season
elsewhere
in hub time on the Sunshine Coast, essentially.
Yeah.
So
they might move up to Queensland, like take the team up to Queensland next year.
Just on Tom Lynch and his status as villain tonight, the flavour may be changing here a little bit. TV cameras have actually captured a moment after the game where there's a young Port Adelaide fan crying in the stands. He was inconsolable. And Tom Lynch sought him out, said good day, and had a little chat to him, gave him a thumbs up. And it's a nice little gesture sort of doing the rounds on social media. But Tom Lynch may change perception of him just one small act at a time.
Awesome. Well, he's actually a great guy. I've met him a couple of times. Well, and he's actually a ripping guy. And if he was around your footy club, you'd love to have him. Now, just because he crosses the line, there's plenty of forwards that cross the line. I mean, Charlie Dixon whacks a couple every now and then, and I reckon the Richmond supporters will be getting into him. But, you know, they got to bang on something. But he's a great guy, Tom.
By the way, Peter Laddams did get reported for striking Noah Bolter earlier in the game.
He'll get a week now.
Actually, it'd be intriguing on the back of obviously the injuries if Port Adelaide had have got through as to how healthy that list. I mean, there's no doubt that Brad Ebert wouldn't have played. Burton would have. Then you go Peter Laddams, maybe. So.
And they've held up pretty well to this point. I mean, they had a full list to pick from for the most part.
Yeah.
The best ability is availability, and obviously that wouldn't have been the case if they'd gone through.
Graham in Western Australia thinks that Nank's mark in the last minute was clearly hands in the back from a tearful Kangas member. Okay, keep them coming.
You've got a long couple of years ahead of you.
0437 774 774. For the third time in 4 years, Richmond into the grand final. It won't be the MCG. It will be the Gabba next Saturday night. And Jayden Short, the only Tiger who's played every game this year, joins us on Grandstand AFL. Jayden, how are you? Congratulations.
How you going? Thanks for having me.
Well,
thank you.
Take us through the last 15 minutes. What were the key moments for you?
Oh, probably. Yeah, obviously the nerves were up, and obviously Nank coming down, and obviously taking a few marks for us helped. So that for me stood out. But apart from that, it was a bit of a blur, and obviously a pretty intense game and a high contested game. So. I suppose everyone would have been nervous as we were, so hopefully it was good to watch.
Jayden Scott Camporelli here, well done, and congratulations, get through to another grand final and another premiership opportunity. I just thought particularly it was a really even game and the momentum went back and forth, but I thought your stoppage work the last 3 weeks has been outstanding, and that's been a real key for you guys moving forward into the grand final.
Yeah, obviously it's something you work on as a team, and obviously you train during the week for situations and stuff like that. So, the boys will have a role to play, and obviously things can go wrong and things can go right. So, all you got to do is you sort of try and play your role, and I think tonight, a lot of the boys played theirs, and it was good.
And 3 pretty good ins, particularly through the midfield where you got smashed last time when you played Port, and Prestia, Cochin and Hooley at half-back. Those guys particularly helped you through the middle of the ground and got on top, particularly in that second half.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, they're 3 amazing players for the club, and I love having them in your team, and they make everyone stand a little bit taller. Obviously, they're great to have in the team, and they step up when they need, and they lead by example, which is awesome.
Jaden, congratulations, all the best. Tell us a little bit about Toby Nankervis. From an outside looking in, the media try to get to him. He's very short and sharp, and he just walks away and not going to do it. How is he?
Yeah, he's an unbelievable bloke, and I just don't think obviously you can tell he's into the media type stuff, so we love that about him, and obviously he's a great team man, and he's one bloke I genuinely love going out there every week with, and always stand a little bit taller with him by our side, and he's just an amazing teammate, and very humble, and just an amazing guy.
Well, I think from the outside too, looking in, most of the Richmond players are. We spoke to Justin Lepage, and I actually highlighted yourself in the season you've had and how you've used the football, particularly in defence, and so congratulations on your season as well.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, appreciate it. Obviously, good to play a few games. Obviously, missed a few last year, and just to play with the boys. Obviously, we're spending a lot of time together up in the Gold Coast, and I personally loved it. Being around the boys for that long, and just getting to grow as a person, and obviously grow as a team. I've really enjoyed it, and it's been an amazing experience.
Give us some idea about that, Jade, and the idea of not going home for 3 months and having to live the life that you guys are, and the challenge that presents. Obviously, it's all worthwhile to go through another grand final next week, which is sensational. But the unique situation around this year, give us some idea of how challenging it's been as a player.
Yeah, obviously there is some challenges, but obviously had a positive outlook on it, and obviously there's nothing I can do. I love playing footy, and I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. So yeah, for me it was sort of just embracing everything that came at me, and I think a lot of the boys have, and just enjoying the company of all the players and staff. Obviously we're spending a lot of time together. So for me it was just having a bit of a positive attitude about it, and no one's really feeling sorry for me. Obviously Melbourne's in a lot worse position than we are in the Gold Coast at the moment. So just looking at it like that, I think it sort of helped me. Yeah.
How are the energy levels?
Yeah, well, right now on the ground.
Well, a bit of both, because we just can't fathom what you guys have been through this year, and we'd love to know, for this group, which seems to have been well managed, you and two others having played all games this year. It's a long campaign for all footy teams, and we're just wondering, what's left in the tank for that one game that counts for so much? Yeah, I suppose I think a lot of the boys have looked at it as I said I had. So I think, for me personally, I'm a pretty energetic bloke, but I think, speaking on behalf of most of the guys, I think a lot of the boys have really loved being up in the Gold Coast, and obviously that does have its challenges and stuff, but we've been able to bond even more as a group, and been able to grow, and it's been pretty special. So I think our energy levels are pretty high, and I sort of try and lead that personally. But there's a lot of blokes who bring energy, and I just love being with the boys, to be honest. And as much as grand final experience anywhere is so important, what do you see as the differences of this week in Brisbane compared to the rabid Richmond fans for another grand final week at the MCG? Will it takes? I mean, you obviously feed off that energy, but it brings its own pressures. Have you got any idea of what this is going to feel like?
No, to be honest, I haven't really thought about that, to be honest. Obviously, we will be in Brisbane, and it will be a little bit different. But no, it's not really something I've sort of put my attention to yet. But I think it'll be a great experience, and obviously something I'm looking forward to, and obviously looking forward to the week. So I'll be embracing it.
Congratulations tonight, Jaden. Thanks for your time on Grandstand AFL. We look forward to seeing you at the Gabba.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Jaden Short, who, as Brett Sprigg rightly points out, is one of 3 Tigers to have played every game this year, along with Jack Revolt and Jason Castagna. Thank you, Spriggy.
That's okay.
For that point of order.
Now, last week, Q, there were probably some eye rolls in the ABC commentary box. I mentioned that the Richmond players are wearing Willie Pep T-shirts. The little-known American boxer, if you know your boxing, you'd know Willie Pep. He was regarded as one of the best defensive fighters of all time, okay? And I was trying to explain why, coaches love themes at this time of year and that kind of thing. Willie Pep T-shirts. This week, Richmond players, Lionel Rose T-shirts. Now, not to go too deep into this, but when you think about Lionel Rose's crowning glory, went to Japan, a hostile environment as a foreign fighter, to fighting Harada.
Fighting Harada, one of the great names in boxing.
Yeah, and bring back the title. Fantastic Indigenous athlete as well. So, probably more well-known boxer this week on the Richmond T-shirts, but I think about Richmond coming here, hostile environment against Port Adelaide. I wonder who they'll show next week.
Probably not Jeff Horn.
Yeah. Although, Brisbane.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay.
And that's one thing that Damien does really well. You talk to the Richmond players, there's always a theme, and he always gives them something. You dig a bit deeper. There's always a theme about the week, and he's done it so well. And the players feed off that because it's a new week. And as you spoke about, to be up for a long period of time and keep the energy, you've got to keep it fresh. That's the hardest bit about coaching, is to try and keep it fresh, keep it engaged, keep it light-hearted at times, because it is a pressure cooker environment. And we talk about the connection piece, and you heard Jaden just say it there, they've only got closer, this group. So
himself too, personally grown as a person.
So that can only help him moving forward, and that would have helped a lot of the clubs moving forward, because it is a pressure cooker environment. And being up there in those hubs up there would have been important for a lot of player relationships and coach relationships moving forward.
Final score, Richmond by a goal, 6-10-46 to Port Adelaide, 6-4-40. Let's head to the Tigers coach, Damien Hardwick, and his reaction to making yet another grand final.
Congratulations, 103 days on the road, an incredible side. Is that the most satisfying grand final you've made in those circumstances?
Yeah, it's certainly different. There's no doubt about it. And we just spoke about it then. The significant achievement of just actually making it to the grand final, when we initially thought we're going to be up here for 30 days. I've been up here 104, 105, whatever it may be. It's an incredible achievement. I couldn't be prouder of the playing group. What Port threw at us tonight was incredible as well. And you sit there and look at that game of footy, and it was just brutal the whole way through. Guys throwing their bodies on the line, and to come out on top against such a quality opposition was really pleasing for us.
I mean, you're a stoppage team now, eh?
Yeah. Adam Kingsley and his mids have done a wonderful job. They've put together a few pieces of the puzzle that certainly got the ball going our way. Obviously we got, I wouldn't say embarrassed, but we were probably inexperienced the last time we came over here and got heavily beaten in that area. And the guys went to work. They're a proud playing group, and Adam does a terrific job in the stoppages. And we're really pleased we got the ball played, from the stoppage game.
When did you become so overwhelming in that factor in the last quarter to smash Port Adelaide when that's one of their strengths? 4-1 virtually in that area.
Yeah, look, I think, once again, the guys just dug deep. I thought the skipper was incredible in that part of the game, and Toby Nankervis, really started to take charge. I thought our guys on the bench managed his game time pretty well. He was on there for 14 minutes, quarter two, Tim, but anyway, it probably worked out pretty well in the end. Nank was incredible that last 5 or 6 minutes, just sitting behind the ball. So, it was really important.
In a game, Jim, it was obviously marginal in terms of the differences. Did you also rate your poise going into towards 50?
Yeah, I thought we were good. Once again, there's always a couple of opportunities where we could have scored a little bit easier, I thought. But, Port are very good the way they set up behind the ball. They're very strong behind the ball. So trying to get the ball through from our D50 was always going to be tough. But I thought our forwards did a pretty good job. Sorry, guys.
Did you have to readjust anything once the weather turned the way it did tonight?
Oh, look, we speak about it, but the games against Port over here are always going to be surge-type footy. Forward footy, their pressure is incredible. They press up. We saw it with Geelong when they played over here a couple of weeks ago with that forward handball that, tries to get past their pressure. And we took a little bit out of that game as well, but it's probably falls into our kit bag a little bit, how he played. But look, the conditions were really tough, especially the first half. The rain sort of died away in that last quarter, but overall it was a pretty damp night underfoot. Sorry.
Damien Hardwick in his press conference. Richmond to the Gabba next week to try and make it 3 premierships in 4 years. 6-10 to 6-4. What a tough old fight it was. Spriggy, you've got the run out of the stats.
I'll start with the winners, Q. Dustin Martin, 21 disposals, 11 contested, 2 goals, 3 marks, a tackle, just extraordinary. 2 inside 50s. Theon Prestia, 19 touches for him, 11 kicks, 8 hand passes. Trent Cotchin, the skipper, another fair night for him. 3 inside 50s, 17 disposals. 13 contested possessions for Trent Cotchin, most of them in the second half. Basher Hooley, 15. Shea Bolton, 15 to go with a couple of shots at goal, but no success for Shea Bolton. Ollie Wines, 24 disposals for Port Adelaide. Dan Houston, 23. Tom Rockcliffe and Travis Boak each with 20. The inside 50s were plus 15 Port Adelaide's way. They had 10 more marks. 32 more possessions overall, Port Adelaide, but the stat that matters most, a 6-point win to the Tigers, 6-10 to 6-4, 46 plays 40.
And the news from tomorrow night's teams, not much from a Geelong perspective. They go in as were the group that dismantled, slaughtered, smashed Collingwood last week, while Brisbane, one change from the team that beat Richmond in the qualifying final in week 1, Cam Ellis-Yolman, the former Crow, coming in for the younger, less experienced, lighter-bodied Kadeen Coleman.
Actually pretty happy for Cam to get a game. He was good for Adelaide when he was here. I just felt maybe he didn't have the pace, but I liked his ability to stay over the footy, and he had some pretty good games in and under. I don't know if his body initially held it together. One season he went and trained overseas, Campo too, didn't he? He came back in pretty healthy condition.
Question, can he go forward and take a mark?
He can. Yeah.
I wonder whether that's a part of what Chris Fagan's thinking tomorrow.
Yeah, I think, and having, I guess, been privy to before I left, they wanted a bigger body. They thought that when they went out in straight sets last year, they were undersized, because you think of Zorko and Neil and these guys. When you're up against some of these bigger body midfielders, they just needed some help through there. So, Berry was still young. He was still developing, so McCluggage is more wing. So they just needed some bigger bodies. He hasn't played a lot, Cam, this year, because they haven't really needed him. But I think it's a good in. He's a good contested player. He's good with his hands. He tackles well. And he's a big body around, and he loves tackling. So I think it'll be important.
Who plays Richmond for the Cup?
I think the Cats.
Jamo?
Yeah, I think it's the Cats. I think I'll just take it to them. I think they're experienced. And again, I don't have the stats in front of me at the minute, but just defensively too, I think Geelong are a lot better.
Good to see you again.
Oh, likewise.
I reckon between the two of us, we've got to be longest-serving members of Grandstand AFL.
21 years for me this year.
Yeah, I'm up to 21 seasons too.
Yep.
And our hairstyles are always in style.
Well, we got something to look forward to, Spriggy. You and I will be bald in 20 years'
Exactly.
time. I've only had 8 weeks. I've got a few more greys, but...
You've been outstanding. It's been fantastic to...
Good to see you, Spriggy.
Have a chat with the 1995 Premiership Blue.
Well done, Aaron Bryans, as well. This Adelaide AFL Grandstand team, of course.
Yeah.
Boundary tonight. But
first year for Aaron here.
Great season all up, Aaron. Well done.
And Adam from the studios helped out.
Have a huge week next week.
Yeah,
all the best calling.
Love it. Look, tomorrow, the lead with Alistair Nicholson, Cameron Ling and Adam Ramanauskas. They'll get through tonight's game and preview the Lions and the Cats. Corbin, Tony Armstrong and Chris Johnson are going to preview the match before yours truly, Brett Sprigg, Lauren Arnell, Brad Sewell and Zane Bojack bring you the penultimate game of the year. Thank you for your company tonight. It was a tight, bustling, slippery old affair where the power bowed out and the Tigers will indeed see if they can make it 3 in 4 years. A goal the diff in the end. What a preliminary final at Adelaide Oval. Here's how it sounded here. Make sure you join us in the Queensland capital at the Gabba tomorrow for the Lions and the Cats. Good night.
He's 65 from goal. High ball towards the teeth of goal here for the Tigers. Lynch. Revolt tries to get the sit. Tucks it down towards Martin. He snaps across his body. And Dustin Martin has the first major of the prelim.
Rockcliffe, who shumps it somehow to Gray. He's 50 out. His kick is precise. And watch out. Dersma's got the footy. Xavier Dersma. Can he set Adelaide Oval alight on his right boot? And indeed, Port Adelaide hit the lead.
Aim on. Wines, 60 from goal. Goes inside, 50. Lycett, second bite, can't pull it in. Slapped away here, Rockcliffe. It comes back out wide. Butters, they can finish this one off again from Rosie in the pocket. Yes! Superb finish. Houston goes long beyond offensive 50 here up the pipe. It's marked by Bolter and a Richmond jumper. All the players on the ground inside the attacking half here for the Tigers. Bolter sends them inside 50.